Chapter 1206. Peng Yuan, must you exchange it with a sword-shaped stone? I can use other treasures or raw stones to buy it from you. Name your price. Mu Ju stood up and stared at the fire spiritual root in Peng Yuan's hand. No, the fire spiritual root is useful to me, but I need a sword-shaped stone more. If you have one, I'll exchange it with you. If you don't, then forget it, Peng Yuan said. Peng Yuan, the fire spiritual root is useful to me. Can't we talk about it? Mu Ju did not give up and said with a fiery gaze. What does it have to do with me if it's useful to you? Peng Yuan sneered. You! Mu Ju's face darkened. However, Peng Yuan was a famous sky pride in the South God Palace and had a powerful force behind him. Hence, Mu Ju was wary of Peng Yuan. If it was someone else, he would have taken action. Who has a sword-shaped stone? If you don't, then forget it, Peng Yuan said. I have one. Suddenly, a voice sounded. Everyone turned to look at the source of the voice. It's him. Many people were stunned. The one who spoke was Lu Ming. You have a sword-shaped stone? Peng Yuan's eyes lit up as he looked at Lu Ming. That's right. Lu Ming stood up and his palm glowed. A small stone sword appeared in Lu Ming's hand. The stone sword was the size of a palm. It was milky white and there was a faint sword chi being emitted from it. This was a sword-shaped stone. Lu Ming also felt lucky. This sword-shaped stone was found when Ciel Wan killed the Tianwu sword sex expert, and Lu Ming was sorting through the storage rings of the Tianwu sword sex expert. When Ciel Wan killed so many experts, Lu Ming obtained a lot of good stuff and put them together. Now, it came in handy. It's really a sword-shaped stone. Peng Yuan's eyes lit up as he looked at the stone sword in Lu Ming's hand. The sword-shaped stone was very useful to a sword cultivator. This sword-shaped stone should be enough to repay your fire spiritual root, Lu Ming said. Of course, Peng Yuan said with a smile. Wait. At this moment, Mu Ju said coldly. He took a step forward and stopped in front of Lu Ming. He looked at Lu Ming and said, Kid, sell your sword-shaped stone to me. Sell it to you? I'm sorry, but my sword-shaped stone needs to be exchanged with Brother Peng for the fire spiritual root. I don't have any extra sword-shaped stones, Lu Ming said. If you don't have any extra, sell the one in your hand to me. Hurry up, I don't have time to talk nonsense with you. Name your price, Mu Ju said impatiently. Lu Ming frowned and said, Don't you understand what I said? I said that I have a use for this stone. Nonsense, I don't care if you're useful or not. Sell him to me now, do you hear me? Mu Ju coldly scolded. Ha ha! Where did this idiot come from? Lu Ming sneered. Lu Ming was really speechless. This Mu Ju obviously wanted to use his sword-shaped stone to exchange for the fire spiritual root with Peng Yuan. He didn't dare to do anything to Peng Yuan, but he dared to bully him. At the side, the others looked on indifferently and didn't say anything. Kid, what did you say? Do you know who I am? I am Mu Ju, the young master of the Mu clan, one of the top 10 clans of the Southern Divine Palace. You dare? Get lost, I don't care who you are. It's none of my business who you are. A good dog doesn't block the way. Before Mu Ju could finish his words, he was coldly scolded by Lu Ming. He forcefully swallowed his words back. You're courting death. A mere trash from the divine wilderness continent dares to be so arrogant. If I don't teach you a lesson today, you won't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Mu Ju's face was completely gloomy. His eyes were cold, and the aura on his body became violent. A layer of flame spread out from his body. At the side, the others looked on quietly and no one stopped him. In this world, treasures could only be obtained and protected if one had the strength to do so. Whoosh! Mu Ju waved his hand and a long whip condensed from flames lashed towards Lu Ming's face. You really think I'm a pushover? A cold light flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. His palm was like a knife as he slashed out. With a puff, the flame whip condensed by Mu Ju was cut into two. You have some ability, but you're still too inexperienced to be arrogant in front of me. Mu Ju said coldly. Boom! The aura on his body became even more violent. A terrifying pressure bloomed in the hall. The pressure was so strong that it surpassed the 5th level of the spirit god realm. The 6th level of the spirit god realm. Moreover, it was the peak of the 6th level of the spirit god realm. Mu Ju's cultivation had reached the peak of the 6th level of the spirit god realm. He was 1 level stronger than Lu Ming. Is this the strength of the Southern Divine Palace's genius? Lu Ming's eyes moved. The Godly Ruins continent was indeed the strongest continent in the Godly Ruins continent. The Southern Divine Palace could be considered as one of the 4 strongest forces in the Divine Ruins continent. The geniuses of the Southern Divine Palace were naturally extraordinary. In the Divine Wilderness continent, a genius like Long Chun was only at the peak of the 5th level of the Spirit God realm. The other geniuses like Xian Yanjuan and Underworld Child had just broken through to the 4th level of the Spirit God realm. The difference between them was too great. Kneel down! Mu Ju snorted coldly. He struck out with his palm, condensing a huge palm print that blasted toward Lu Ming. He wanted to suppress Lu Ming with one palm and make him kneel on the spot. So what if you're at the 6th level of the Spirit God realm? Lu Ming wasn't afraid at all. The dragon force in his body erupted as he threw out a punch. Boom! The terrifying fist energy bombarded the flaming hand and directly pierced through the flaming hand condensed by Mu Ju. Again. Mu Ju's eyes turned colder when he saw that his palm was destroyed by Lu Ming. Come on, it's my turn now. Lu Ming took a step forward. The ground trembled and countless inscriptions appeared. Swoosh! Lu Ming's figure instantly closed in on Lu Ming. At the same time, the 3rd bloodline appeared above his head. A wisp of energy flowed into him, causing his body to emit a bloody light. Boom! Borrowing the power of the 3rd bloodline, Lu Ming's strength surged again as he threw out a punch towards Mu Ju. A cold, murderous intent shrouded Mu Ju as a terrifying force pressed down on him. This made Mu Ju's countenance change slightly. With a roar, flames flared and he threw a punch at Lu Ming. Boom! The 2 fists collided. Mu Ju's expression changed drastically as his body retreated a few steps. On the other hand, Lu Ming's body only swayed a little. What? Mu Ju was repelled. How is this possible? Mu Ju is at the peak of the 6th level of the Spirit God realm. How could he be repelled? That Lu Ming is only at the 5th level of the Spirit God realm. How could this happen? The scene was in an uproar when Mu Ju was repelled with a punch. Many people cried out in shock. Among them, there were a few young men whose eyes flickered with splendor. For example, the beautiful woman in the fiery red dress had a look of astonishment in her eyes. Damn it, kid, I'm going to kill you! Mu Ju roared furiously after being repelled by Lu Ming's punch. Chapter 1207. The killing intent on Mu Ju's body was extremely dense. The flames on his body were jumping crazily, and his bloodline emerged above his head. Mu Ju's bloodline was a vine that was filled with flames. There were 9 golden chakras shining on the vine. He used bloodline fusion and turned into a flaming vine. A terrifying aura filled the air. Die for me! The flaming vines waved like long whips, rolling towards Lu Ming. The blazing flames seemed to be able to burn everything. The other youths around him got up one after another. Their true essence shone on their body, and intent revolved around them to resist the remaining power of the flames. Bang! Lu Ming used the suppressing hell art and struck out a palm. It hit one of the vines and made a dull collision sound. Lu Ming felt a gush of scorching flames spreading toward him. His palms felt slightly numb. To be honest, Mu Ju was very strong. A 9th level divine ranked bloodline and a peak 6th level spirit god realm cultivation base. His battle strength was extremely terrifying, much stronger than Yi Kuang. Swish! 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 The flaming vines kept waving and whipping towards Lu Ming. This kind of vine could crack the earth with a single strike. Its power was terrifying. Lu Ming's 5-colored intent enveloped his body. The suppressing hell art's power was getting stronger and stronger. He struck out palm after palm. Bang! 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 Lu Ming's palm kept colliding with the flaming vines. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged more than a dozen moves. The two of them were evenly matched. This had already shocked the others. So strong! This Lu Ming is so strong! It's unbelievable that he can fight Mu Ju above his level. It's indeed unbelievable. The divine wilderness continent is amazing! The rest of the people exclaimed. Their gazes toward Lu Ming were filled with fear. They had all awakened 9th-level divine ranked bloodline and stood at the peak of all the prodigies. Their battle strength was unparalleled, and fighting above their level was as common as eating rice. For prodigies like them, it was almost impossible for others to fight above their level. Among prodigies with 9th-level divine ranked bloodline, who would be weaker than the other? But now, Mu Ju, who had reached the peak 6th-level spirit god realm, was fighting above his level. And the person who fought above his level was from the divine wilderness continent, which wasn't very famous. Ah! Die! Die! Mu Ju howled madly. His cultivation was 1 level higher than Lu Ming's, but he still couldn't take down Lu Ming. This made him extremely angry. If news of this got out, his reputation would definitely take a huge hit. What was a genius? Geniuses needed to surpass levels to defeat others, and not be defeated by others. If one was defeated by others, what kind of genius was that? He was bound to become a joke. He was furious. He wanted nothing more than to grind Lu Ming's bones to dust. He launched an even more violent attack. What are you shouting for? Would shouting louder increase one's combat strength? Peak of the 6th level of the spirit god realm. Just this bit of combat strength is really disappointing. It's time to end this. Lu Ming laughed disdainfully. Roar! The 9 dragons' bloodlines appeared above his head. That's his bloodline? It seems to be the legendary 9 dragons' bloodline, but it's only at level 8 of the divine realm. Only at level 8 of the divine realm! As soon as Lu Ming's bloodline appeared, it caused another uproar. Lu Ming turned into 9 dragons, opened his mouth and roared. His devouring power enveloped Mu Ju, causing the flaming vines to tremble. Bang! Bang! The 9 dragons stepped forward and executed the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping step. The violent power bombarded the flaming vines. After a few consecutive explosions, 3 of the flaming vines exploded into pieces. The 9 dragons let out a long roar and each of their claws grabbed a flaming vine. With a forceful tear, the 9 flaming vines were all torn apart and turned into flames. Bang! The divine dragon swung its tail. The 9 dragons' tails executed the hell-suppressing heavenly art, and whipped the main position of the flaming vines. The roots of the flaming vines were directly sent flying and heavily crashed into the wall. Boom! Countless inscriptions flickered on the wall, but it still shook violently. Mu Ju let out a miserable scream. He was completely suppressed, completely crushed. After Lu Ming executed the bloodline fusion, he completely crushed Mu Ju. Swish! The 9 dragons twisted their bodies and instantly appeared in front of Mu Ju. Their dragon claws clawed out continuously. The rumbling sound was unceasing, and Mu Ju's miserable scream was also heard, causing many people to shiver. After a dozen consecutive moves, Mu Ju finally couldn't resist anymore. His bloodline collapsed, and he reverted to his original form. At this moment, his hair was disheveled and he was vomiting blood. His body was covered in injuries and looked extremely miserable. In the crowd, Mu Feng's face was pale without a trace of blood. Mu Ju, who had reached the peak of the 6th-level spirit god realm, was defeated. He never dreamed that he would be defeated so miserably. He originally thought that he could borrow Mu Ju's hand to cripple Lu Ming, and take revenge for the day he was beaten up by Lu Ming. He never thought that such a powerful Mu Ju would follow in his footsteps. Bastard, you dare to hit me? You're dead! Mu Ju roared furiously. He hated Lu Ming to the bone. After today, he, Mu Ju, would definitely become the laughing stock of the southern divine palace. The 9 dragons shrunk and Lu Ming reverted to his human form. His eyes were cold as he kicked Mu Ju's face. Mu Ju screamed as his head heavily hit the wall. His face was deformed. How dare you threaten me? Do you believe that I won't kill you right now? The killing intent on Lu Ming's body was so intense that it chilled Mu Ju's heart. Damn it! Damn it! Mu Ju roared furiously in his heart, but he didn't dare to say another word. Lu Ming's blood-red hair fluttered and his eyes were blood-red. That killing intent was too intense and cold. He really suspected that Lu Ming would kill him if he said another word. He reached out and sucked. His vital essence swirled and the storage ring in Mu Ju's hand flew toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming grabbed it. Take this storage ring as your punishment. It's compensation for my mental trauma. Lu Ming slowly kept Mu Ju's storage ring. You can't do this. Mu Ju wailed. Mu Ju wailed. That storage ring was all of his savings. Also, what mental damage compensation? Speaking of compensation, shouldn't he be the one who should be compensated? Why was he beaten so badly? Do you want to die? Lu Ming's blood-red eyes narrowed. Mu Ju didn't dare to utter a word. However, his body was trembling slightly due to anger. Get lost, Lu Ming said faintly as he turned around and left. If this happened in the Divine Desolate Continent, he would have been slapped to death by Lu Ming. However, this was the Divine Ruins continent after all. Lu Ming had just arrived here, so he was merciful. Mu Ju glared at Lu Ming with hatred. He staggered to his feet and walked towards the portal. Cousin, wait for me. Mu Feng's legs were trembling in fear. He quickly followed Mu Ju and left this place. Brother Pang, here's the sword-shaped stone you wanted. Lu Ming walked towards Pang Yuan and passed the sword-shaped stone to him. Ha ha, Brother Lu's combat strength is really admirable. Mu Ju, that arrogant and despotic fellow, finally kicked an iron plate today. Pang Yuan laughed and passed the fire spiritual root to Lu Ming. Brother Pang, you're too polite, Lu Ming said. Both of them were happy with their gains. Interesting. Chapter 1208. The auction continued. Following this, the others went up and took out their treasures. I have 2 ancient mines of the godly ruins too. I'm not sure if anyone needs them. A while later, another young man went up and took out 2 yellow ancient mines of the godly ruins. Xian Yanqing raised his eyebrows when the young man took out the 2 ancient mines of the godly ruins. Lu Ming, I can sense something in one of the mines. Xian Yanqing transmitted his voice to Lu Ming. Shao Qing, you can sense it? Lu Ming was surprised. Lu Ming, there is indeed something in one of the mines that is suitable for the girl. That's why she sensed it. However, it's not too valuable. Dandan transmitted his voice to Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded and decided to buy it. Just like before, buying the ancient mines of the godly ruins was like a gamble. Almost no one bid. I'm quite curious about the ancient mines of the godly ruins since it's my first time here. I'll buy these 2 ancient mines for 100,000 primal stones and study them, Lu Ming said casually. It seemed like he had bought the 2 ancient mines purely out of curiosity. After Lu Ming spoke, no one else spoke. The young man was slightly depressed. The previous 3 ancient mines of the godly ruins had been sold for 5 million primal stones, but his 2 ancient mines were only sold for 100,000 primal stones. After waiting for a while, seeing that no one else was bidding, he had no choice but to sell them to Lu Ming for 100,000 primal stones. Lu Ming handed the primal stones to the young man and kept the 2 ancient mines, but he did not go down. Instead, he scanned the crowd and said, Lu Ming would like to buy the Royal Bloodstone, 9-leaf Ganoderma, Earth Emperor Essence, and Star Anise Mysterious Ice Grass. If you have these materials, feel free to state your conditions. Lu Ming will try his best to fulfill them. Royal Bloodstone, Earth Emperor Essence. The others were startled. These 4 materials are extremely valuable. Their value is comparable to the Fire Spiritual Root. In fact, the star anise mysterious ice grass is even more valuable. That's right, I've only heard of these 4 herbs and materials, but I've never seen them before. The others discussed among themselves. Almost all of them shook their heads, indicating that they did not. Royal bloodstone, I have one. Right at this moment, a clear and melodious voice sounded. Lu Ming's eyes lit up as he looked towards the source of the sound. The one who spoke was the stunning woman in the fiery red dress. It's Ji Hongqin, someone whispered. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. This woman was indeed Ji Hongqin. Yichuan had mentioned one of the 3 strongest prodigies of the younger generation of Southern God Palace. Miss Ji, you have the royal bloodstone? Lu Ming looked expectant. Ji Hongqin's palm glowed, and a dark red stone appeared. This stone looked like a blood-red jade, but strangely, there was a pleasant fragrance coming from it. It really is the royal bloodstone! Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Miss Ji, what treasure do you need to exchange royal bloodstones for? See if I have it on me. If I don't, I'll definitely think of a way to get it, Lu Ming said. Brother Lu, this is your first time in the ruins of God. Since you're a guest, I don't need to exchange for any treasure. Brother Lu can buy it with origin stones. 30 million origin stones it is, Ji Hongqin said. 30 million? Lu Ming was slightly taken aback. It was not because it was too expensive, but because it was too cheap. A rare treasure like the royal bloodstone belonged to the top of level 9. It was rare in the world, and its real price was definitely more than 30 million. Miss Ji, 30 million origin stones is a great bargain for me, Lu Ming said. Brother Lu, you're a guest. Just treat it as a friend. Ji Hongqin smiled and was very forthright. Everyone knew that Ji Hongqin's attitude was because of Lu Ming's strength. If Lu Ming's battle strength was weak, Ji Hongqin would not have bothered with him. However, Lu Ming's strength had attracted Ji Hongqin's attention, which was why he wanted to befriend him. Thank you, Miss Ji. Lu Ming was not a shy person. He took out a storage ring, put 30 million origin stones in it, and handed it to Ji Hongqin. Ji Hongqin handed the royal bloodstone to Lu Ming. After putting away the royal bloodstone, Lu Ming returned to his seat in a good mood. Today's harvest was not bad. Next, more people took out treasures to exchange, but Xian Yanqing and Lu Ming were not interested. After looking for a while, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing stood up and left. They went to the 5th floor and said goodbye to Yichuan. They left the treasure exchange building and returned to their residence in the General Peak. In the room, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing entered the mountain-river diagram and sat cross-legged on a mountain peak. An ancient mine of the ruins of God floated between the two of them. This was the one that Xian Yanqing could sense. Lu Ming's true essence condensed into a true essence blade and slashed at the ancient mine of the ruins of God. The ancient mine of the ruins of God was very hard, even harder than many metals. However, it was easily cut open by Lu Ming's true essence blade. Suddenly, a wisp of black demonic chi spread out. There's really something. Lu Ming's expression changed. This ancient mine of the ruins of God was really mysterious. There was something sealed in it. Crack! In the end, the ancient mine of the ruins of God cracked open and a drop of dark red blood appeared. A dense demonic light soared into the sky. This is the blood of an expert that was sealed in the ancient mine of the ruins of God. Lu Ming was inwardly shocked. Legend had it that the ancient mine of the ruins of God did not come from the ruins of God. Some people guessed that it came from beyond the heavens. There was a great battle between experts, and treasures, blood, and essence blood splashed onto the ancient mine of the ruins of God. Due to various reasons, some treasures and blood were sealed in the ancient mine of the ruins of God and preserved after a long period of time. The owner of this drop of blood is an expert who cultivates the demonic path. Although many years have passed and the power of this drop of blood is not much, it is still very useful to me. If I refine it, my cultivation will definitely increase, Xian Yanqing said. Well, little Qing, then hurry up and refine it, lest the energy dissipates, Lu Ming said. Xian Yanqing nodded, and a bloodline appeared on his head. He formed a seal with both hands, attracting a drop of blood to his hand, and began to refine it. Lu Ming estimated that it would take at least a few days for Xian Yanqing to refine a drop of demonic blood. Lu Ming came to a nearby mountain and took out the remaining ancient mines of the ruins of God. 3 of them were bought by Mu Ju, but his storage ring was taken by Lu Ming, so the 3 ancient mines of the ruins of God naturally fell into Lu Ming's hands. One of them was the one that Dandan sensed had a treasure. Lu Ming put it aside and cut the other 3 ancient mines of the ruins of God one by one. There was indeed nothing inside, just 3 pieces of ore that were useless. Lu Ming looked at the last ancient mine and cut it with the blade of true origin. Suddenly, a blazing aura spread out from the ancient mine of the ruins of God. Lu Ming was overjoyed and cut open the ancient mine completely. "This is a weapon fragment." Chapter 1209. This weapon fragment was only the size of a fingernail, but it was filled with a blazing aura like a ball of raging flames. "This must be the weapon fragment of a supreme powerhouse. It contains a strong fire energy. If I extract it and refine it, my fire concept will definitely improve greatly." Lu Ming pondered and was a little tempted. He then circulated his true yuan and wrapped it around the weapon fragment, beginning to extract it. As Lu Ming continued to condense, a flame was extracted from the weapon fragment and jumped on Lu Ming's fingertip. "Refine!" His true yuan wrapped around the flame and began to refine it. On the other hand, Lu Ming closed his eyes and carefully sensed the power of fire in it, improving his fire concept. Time passed day by day. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 days had passed. In more than 10 days, Lu Ming had completely refined the ball of flame. Fire concept, peak 4th level greater mastery. Lu Ming opened his eyes, and a ball of flame flashed through his eyes. The pinnacle of level 4 greater mastery was only a step away from level 4 perfection. Boom! A demonic aura surged from a nearby mountain, and a demonic aura soared into the sky. Peak of the 4th level of the spirit god realm. Little Qing's cultivation has improved greatly as well. Lu Ming revealed a smile on his face. When he first met Xian Yanqing in the 9 underworlds, Xian Yanqing had just broken through to the 3rd level spirit god. Later on, after receiving Xian Yanqing's inheritance and cultivating for a period of time, Xian Yanqing's cultivation had already reached the 4th level spirit god. However, he was only at the early 4th level spirit god. Obviously, Xian Yanqing had refined that drop of demonic blood in this half a month, and his cultivation had directly reached the peak 4th level spirit god. However, although the energy of that drop of demonic blood had been completely refined, Xian Yanqing was still cultivating. Lu Ming felt that the heavenly demon concept was restless in Xian Yanqing's body. Little Qing wants to take this opportunity to break through the heavenly demon concept in one go. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He knew Xian Yanqing's plan. That drop of demon blood also contained a strong demonic intent realm, which had greatly affected Xian Yanqing. It was normal for him to have a breakthrough in his intent realm. Lu Ming didn't disturb Xian Yanqing. A section of heavenly thunder wood appeared in his hand. Lu Ming planned to use the heavenly thunder wood to continue cultivating and comprehend the concept of thunder. Similar to refining the weapon fragment earlier, Lu Ming first extracted a strand of lightning from the heavenly thunder wood, then refined this strand of lightning to improve his lightning concept. In the blink of an eye, another dozen days passed. In total, Lu Ming had been in seclusion for a month. Lu Ming had also completely refined a wisp of thunder. His thunder concept had also reached the peak of the 4th level in one fell swoop. The heavenly thunder wood that he bought for 5 million origin stones could allow his concept of thunder to reach the peak of the 4th level of large success. Swoosh! A figure stepped on the air and appeared in front of Lu Ming. It was Xian Yanqing. "Little Qing, your intent realm has broken through?" Lu Ming asked. "Yes, the heavenly demon intent has reached the peak of the 4th level of large success. Unfortunately, I'm only one step away from reaching the peak of the 4th level," Xian Yanqing said. This time, she had gained a lot. Her cultivation was only one step away from breaking through to the 5th level of Spirit God. That ancient mind of God is really amazing. I reckon that there must be a supreme expert who cultivated the demonic Tao who was killed. Their flesh and blood scattered, and some of them were sealed in the ancient mind of God, Xian Yanqing said. Lu Ming nodded. He was also very curious about the ancient mind of God. Woo woo woo, at this moment, a cry sounded in the sky. The cry sounded very sad and mournful. This made Lu Ming's expression change drastically. This cry definitely did not come from the mountain and river diagram, but from the outside world. However, the mountain and river diagram was a heavenly abode treasure. It formed a world of its own and was isolated from the outside world. Sound could not be transmitted in at all. But how did this sound come in? Obviously, Xian Yanqing also thought of this, and his expression changed. Swoosh! Dandan flew over from afar and appeared on Lu Ming's shoulder. He said, "What's the crying sound? It's so unpleasant to hear, and it even came here? It's coming from outside. Let's go out and take a look," Lu Ming said. With a thought, Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, and Dandan came out of the mountain and river diagram together. As soon as they came out of the mountain and river diagram, the crying sound became even clearer. It came from the east. The two of them went out of the room and came to the courtyard. "That's—" Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing looked to the east, and their eyes widened in shock. At this time, it was night. The world was dark, and the moon and stars could not be seen. But in the east, the sky was blood red. It was like the sunset, but it was not sunset. The light rushed out from the ground and dyed the sky red. And the mournful crying sound came from that direction. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing flew out of the courtyard and into the sky. They could see more clearly. At this moment, the sky above the southern divine palace was full of people, all looking to the east. "Tuoba Shi, do you know what's going on?" Tuoba Shi was beside the two of them. Lu Ming asked. "General Lu!" Tuoba Shi cupped his fists and said, "During this period of time, I specially asked around. As far as I know, that direction is the direction of the ruins of God. I heard that there will be such a phenomenon every year in the ruins of God. The sky will be dyed red, and there will be cries. Ruins of God?" Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were slightly surprised. They did not expect such a phenomenon to come from the ruins of God. The ruins of God is very mysterious. It contains treasures like the ancient mine of the ruins of God, but it is also very dangerous. There is no danger outside the ruins of God, but it is very dangerous inside, especially in the core area. There have been emperors who have entered, but they have never come out, Tuoba Shi said. This made Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing even more surprised. It was indeed shocking that even emperors could not come out. At this time, the crying sound suddenly disappeared, but it was followed by a kind of sacrificial sound. It was very grand and solemn. Listening carefully, it was like a war song. "Cultivate my battle spear, kill the 9 heavens, slaughter the foreign races, return my mountains and rivers." Vaguely, Lu Ming seemed to have heard these words. They were filled with grief and emotions of facing death with equanimity. "Roar!" Vaguely, Lu Ming seemed to hear the sound of a dragon's roar, shaking heaven and earth. Lu Ming was shocked. What was in the ruins of God? Lu Ming was incomparably curious. This strange phenomenon lasted for an entire night. It was only when the sun rose the next day that the strange phenomenon disappeared. At this time, Lu Ming saw many people flying towards the east. Are they going to the ruins of God? Lu Ming was a little surprised. Yes, they are indeed going to the ruins of God. It is said that there will be a phenomenon in the ruins of God every year, but after a period of time, the ruins of God will be the safest. The ruins of God are divided into the outer area, the inner area, and the core area by the people of Southern God Palace. Usually, the outer area is not dangerous, but the inner area is full of danger. If you are not careful, even supremes will fall, and the core area, even emperors will not be able to come out. But after a period of time, the inner area will become much safer. As long as your luck is not too bad, you will not be in great danger. You can go in to look for treasures and ancient mines of the ruins of God. Chapter 12:10. General Liu, why don't we go to the ruins of God to take a look? Tuobashir said. All right, the ruins of God is the most famous wonder in the continent of God. Since we're here, how can we not go? Let's go, Lu Ming said with a smile. Immediately, Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, and Tuobashir flew towards the east. Along the way, they saw many people flying towards the east. For example, Long Chun, an underworld child of the divine wilderness continent, were also flying towards the east. On the continent of God, there were several ruins of God, and they were all very famous. There was only one near the South God Palace, which was more than 50,000 miles east of the South God Palace. More than 50,000 miles was soon reached. How wonderful and spectacular! Lu Ming and the others stood in the air and looked into the distance, full of amazement. What entered their eyes was an endless stretch of ruins. Yes, it was really ruins. Endless rocks, endless broken palaces, broken mountains, and broken pavilions were scattered on the boundless land in front of them. It was as if there was a rich country in the sky that fell from the sky and smashed into the ground, forming a stretch of ruins. Some people speculate that the ruins of God is another world. There was a fierce battle, and the space cracked open and fell here, Tuobashir said. Another world? Could it be the heavenly realm? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He had once been to a small island in the heavenly realm and learned some unknown secrets. The heavenly realm and the primordial realm were twin worlds. Other than these two worlds, there were no other worlds. Moreover, it seemed that there was a fierce battle in the heavenly realm. Whoosh! 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 One figure after another rushed into the vast ruins of God. Let's go in and take a look too, Lu Ming said. The three of them also flew into the ruins of God. The ruins of God was vast and boundless, covering an extremely large area. Right now, they were at the periphery of the ruins of God. Looking up, Lu Ming saw a huge palace that had fallen to the ground in ruins, filled with the aura of ancient times. He also saw an enormous ancient city, which was also extremely dilapidated and deformed. It is said that a long time ago, there were many ancient mines in the outer regions of the ruins of God. However, after so many years, the ancient mines in the outer regions of the ruins of God have long been excavated. Only the inner regions still have ancient mines, Tuobashir said. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing nodded. The three of them did not stop and continued to fly forward. After a while, the three of them arrived at the interior of the ruins of God. At this point, the three of them landed and did not fly in the sky. That was because the inner region was filled with danger, especially when flying in the air. The speed was too fast, and once one encountered danger, it would be too late to dodge. Furthermore, Lu Ming also wanted to look around and see if he could find the ruins of God ancient mine. Why do I feel so familiar with this place? It's like I've seen it before. Dandan's eyes darted around as she mumbled. You've really seen it? Lu Ming's eyes lit up as he transmitted a message to Dandan. I think I've seen it before, but I can't remember it clearly. Strange, it seems that the more important something is, the more I can't remember it. Dandan muttered, as if he was recalling carefully. Lu Ming was speechless. Dandan, this guy, always dropped the ball at the crucial moment. The three of them slowed down and carefully sensed the ruins to see if they could find the ruins of God ancient mine. What a huge palace! Xian Yanqing looked ahead and revealed a look of surprise. In front of them, there was a huge dilapidated palace that smashed onto the ground. It was dilapidated, but it could be seen that the original palace must be extremely tall and majestic. Lu Ming, I seem to have a feeling that there seems to be an ancient mine of the ruins of God here, Xian Yanqing said. Let's go and take a look, Lu Ming said. The three of them carefully rushed into the ruins of the palace and carefully examined it. Finally, they came to a remote corner. Xian Yanqing sensed that there seemed to be something under the ground in this corner that was resonating with her. Let me dig it out, A big axe condensed by chi appeared in Tuobashir's hand and he began to hack at the ground. The soil of the ruins was very hard, and it was very difficult for Tuobashir to dig. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing also joined in the excavation. The three of them worked together to clear out the ruins and dug a big pit that was dozens of meters deep. Sure enough, they found a few pieces of the ruins of God Ancient Mine in the big pit. Ha! There are a few pieces of the ruins of God Ancient Mine here. It's really easy to find them without any effort. At this moment, there was a loud laugh. Figures flashed and 3 figures appeared, looking down at Lu Ming and the other 2 in the deep pit. The 3 of them were all young men with strong auras and a faint arrogance on their faces. Now, this place belongs to us. The 3 of you can go, one of the bald young men said. His tone was full of a commanding tone. The 3 of you, we found this place first, and we also worked hard to dig it out. Don't you think it's too much to ask us to leave as soon as you come? Tuobashir said. The 3 of them clearly wanted to rob them halfway. Too much? I don't think it's already a great mercy for us to let you go and keep your lives. Why aren't you scramming? We don't have so much time to waste here. After digging out these pieces of the ruins of God Ancient Mine, we still have to go to other places. The bald young man berated coldly. Tuobashir's face was gloomy and ugly, and he said, You want us to leave with just 1 sentence? What a joke! Kid, you talk too much nonsense. You don't have to leave now. Bang! As soon as the bald young man finished speaking, he took a step forward and pounced towards Tuobashir like an eagle pouncing on its prey. At the same time, he threw a punch at Tuobashir. Do you think I'm afraid of you? A mace appeared in Tuobashir's hand and he shouted loudly. His aura surged out violently, and the mace whistled towards the bald young man. 4th level Spirit God! In the past month, Tuobashir's cultivation had finally broken through and reached the 4th level of the Spirit God realm. Bang! The bald young man's fist and Tuobashir's mace collided heavily. A loud bang resounded, and Tuobashir's expression changed drastically. Even with his cultivation at the 4th level of the Spirit God realm, it was difficult for him to resist. He retreated with a bang and spat out a mouthful of blood. Die! A ruthless expression flashed in the bald young man's eyes, and he threw a punch at Tuobashir's heart. Heavenly Demon Force Field. A delicate shout resounded, and a force field formed and enveloped the bald young man, causing his speed to decrease greatly. At the same time, Xian Yanqing's figure charged out and slapped out with his palm, and it collided with the bald young man's fist. With a bang, Xian Yanqing and the bald young man retreated at the same time. Little Qing, are you all right? Lu Ming looked at Xian Yanqing. He could tell that the bald young man's cultivation was at the early stage of the 5th level of the Spirit God realm, and he was slightly stronger than Xian Yanqing. However, Xian Yanqing's combat strength was extremely strong. Even if his cultivation was slightly weaker, he should be able to fight the bald young man. I'm fine. Xian Yanqing shook his head and said, Lu Ming, leave this person to me. You have to be careful of those 2. Chapter 12:11. Don't worry, it's just 2 early-stage 6th level spirit gods, Lu Ming said. The remaining 2 had reached the 6th level spirit god realm. Little girl, you dare to stop me? You're courting death! The bald youth shouted as his true essence surged and pounced at Xian Yanqing. Black lotuses appeared beside Xian Yanqing and formed sharp lotus swords. Together with the heavenly demon force field, Xian Yanqing fought with the bald youth. The 2 of them were evenly matched, and it was difficult to determine the winner. This little girl's combat strength is not bad. She has such combat strength at the peak of the 4th level spirit god realm. It's really rare, one of the 2 remaining youths said. Indeed, but her cultivation is too weak. There's still a 5th level spirit god kid. Leave him to me. After speaking, one of the youths' figure flashed and pounced at Lu Ming. He was as fast as lightning, and his palm was like a blade as he slashed at Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming didn't move at all. He didn't even look at him and similarly slashed at the other party with his palm. Bang! The two palms collided. Lu Ming didn't move, but the other party's figure flew back. You have some combat strength. Looks like I won't be able to take you down if I don't use my full strength. The youth's eyes turned cold and serious. A spear appeared in his hand and flickered with a sharp aura. Whoosh! He and the spear became one and stabbed at Lu Ming. Dragon power erupted from Lu Ming's body as Lu Ming continued to strike with his palm. Clang! Lu Ming attacked later but arrived first. His palm was like lightning and slashed at the spear. Wham! The spear vibrated continuously. The other party's expression changed drastically as his body trembled and flew back again. This time, not only him, but the other youth's expression also turned serious. Lu Ming's cultivation was only at the 5th level spirit god realm, but the combat strength he erupted with was shocking. He actually easily repelled existences at the 6th level spirit god realm again and again. They weren't ordinary spirit gods, but top geniuses. Treasures are obtained by those with strength. Since you have the strength, then these few ancient mines of the ruins of God will be yours. John Luo, let's go! One of the young men spoke, and in the end, he was speaking to the bald young man. Lu Ming's battle prowess made them feel that it was unfathomable. It was not worthwhile to fight with Lu Ming for a few pieces of the ruins of God ancient mines. Bang! After exchanging a blow with Xian Yanqing, the bald youth flew backwards. As soon as you arrived, you injured my friend. Now you want to leave after saying those words? Haha, who do you think we are? Lu Ming sneered. His aura rose and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Brat, we've already taken the initiative to retreat. What else do you want? Do you really think that we're afraid of you just because we've defeated the entire continent? The bald youth shouted. You are from Zhanping continent? Tuobusher let out a cry of surprise. Fighting the continent to a draw. Lu Ming's heart stirred. There were a total of 42 continents in the ruins of God continent group. Of course, there were strong and weak continents. Although the Divine Wilderness continent was not at the bottom of the ruins of God continent group, it was still in the bottom 10. And the Divine Wilderness continent was truly number 1. Other than the Divine Wilderness continent, the Zhanping continent was also very strong and ranked in the top 10. It was also the only 2 continents in the Southern God Palace's 9 continents that were in the top 10. And the 3 young men in front of him were from the Zhanping continent. No wonder they were full of arrogance. No wonder they were so strong. 2 of them had reached the 6th level spirit god realm. Seeing Tuobusher's surprised expression, the bald youth and the other 2 revealed a smug look. I don't care which continent you are from. If you don't leave something behind today, don't even think about leaving. Lu Ming continued to speak as he walked forward. The bald youth and the other 2 had ugly expressions as they approached. You want to do this the hard way? Let's see what you're capable of. The young man who attacked Lu Ming earlier had a cold look in his eyes. A long spear appeared above his head. He used bloodline fusion and turned into a long spear. A terrifying sharp force spread out and pierced holes in the void. Whoosh! The long spear slashed down and pierced towards Lu Ming. Kill! Lu Ming's 3rd bloodline appeared and a wisp of energy poured in. Lu Ming roared as killing intent surged out like a tide. He punched out. Clang! The fist hit the long spear, causing it to vibrate and fly back. This shocked the other young men from the Zhanping continent. Let's attack together. Another young man at the 6th level spirit god realm shouted as a battle sword appeared above his head. He turned into a battle sword and slashed towards Lu Ming. Needless to say, their bloodlines were all at the 9th level of the divine realm. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming threw out 2 consecutive punches, hitting the long spear and the battle sword. The long spear and the battle sword were both sent flying and kept vibrating. How can he be so strong? The bald man's expression changed drastically. He was shocked. Lu Ming and he were both at the 5th level of the spirit god realm. However, he felt that if he fought with Lu Ming, he wouldn't even be able to block one of Lu Ming's moves. Lu Ming was too strong. Lu Ming strolled out and attacked continuously. Both of his fists were swinging out continuously. Terrifying power erupted and bombarded the combat sword and the long spear continuously. Clang! Clang! The sound of iron being struck rang out. The battle sword and the long spear were vibrating non-stop. So strong. Is this General Lu's battle strength? He's too strong. Tuobashir widened his eyes in shock. Back then, Lu Ming defeated him in one move when they were at the same level. He was already convinced. Now that he saw Lu Ming going all out, he admired him even more. Lu Ming didn't use bloodline fusion. He kept punching with both fists. Each of his punches contained the powerful power of the suppressing hell heaven art. Since he got the suppressing hell steel fragment, his suppressing hell heaven art had become stronger and stronger. Even if he used the same amount of Jingyuan, the power was much stronger than before. However, he felt that the power of the suppressing hell heaven art could be even stronger. There was still a lot of potential that hadn't been discovered. Lu Ming was comprehending as he fought. The speed of his punches became slower and slower. However, each of his punches seemed to suppress and confine everything in the world. It seemed slow, but it was actually extremely fast. He forced his opponent to meet him head-on. Clang! 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 Explosions rang out continuously. The battle sword and the long spear vibrated more and more violently. In the end, they exploded with two bangs and turned back into their human forms. Their faces were pale and they spat out blood. Their eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. Both of them were at the early 6th level of the spirit god realm. Their cultivation was higher than Lu Ming's. However, they were completely suppressed by Lu Ming and were seriously injured. How was this possible? Who are you? Are you a peerless genius of the Southern Divine Palace? One of the young men asked. They suspected that Lu Ming was a peerless genius cultivated by the Southern Divine Palace. Only an overlord of the godly ruins continent like the Southern Divine Palace could cultivate such a powerful genius. You want to know who I am? You're not qualified. You, leave your storage ring and get lost. Chapter 12:12. The faces of the three youths from Jianping mainland were ugly, especially the bald youth. Lu Ming actually wanted him to leave behind his storage ring? Friend, don't go too far. We have stronger geniuses from Jianping mainland. Going too far won't do anyone any good, the bald man said. The storage ring was all he had. Nonsense, I'm not handing it over. Leave him behind. Lu Ming scolded and walked towards Jianping mainland. A cold, murderous intent covered Jianping's body, causing him to break out in cold sweat. Zhan Luo, leave the ring! Another youth from Jianping mainland said. In the end, Jianping had no choice but to take off his storage ring and throw it to Lu Ming. Let's wait and see. One of Jianping mainland's youths left a ruthless sentence, and then the three of them left dejectedly. Tuobashir, this ring is for you. Lu Ming threw the bald youth's storage ring to Tuobashir. I can't take this. Tuobashir waved his hand repeatedly. Why are you being so polite with me? Take this as compensation for your injuries, Lu Ming said with a smile. Tuobashir finally kept it, and there was a trace of emotion in his eyes. Then they dug out a few pieces of ancient minds of God. There were a total of 5 pieces of ancient minds of God, and they all looked the same. They were yellow like gold ore, but the material was not gold. They were hundreds of times more valuable than gold. Of course, for them, even if it was tens of thousands of times more valuable than gold, it was useless to them, unless it was a precious refining material. However, this kind of yellow ore seemed to have no other use except for its special sealing ability. Shao Qing, you can sense this ancient mine of God, which means that it contains something useful to you. You can keep it, Lu Ming said. Xian Yanqing nodded and kept the 5 pieces of ancient minds of God. Then, the few of them searched carefully and found nothing else, so they left the place. Next, the 3 of them searched many places, but unfortunately, they did not find any other ancient minds of God. Follow me, there might be an ancient mine of God ahead. Dandan sprinted forward. In front of him was a huge stone forest. At a glance, there were stone pillars. Some of the stone pillars were as thick as mountains, while others were as thin as sticks. Lu Ming and the other two followed Dandan into the stone forest and carefully sensed their surroundings. Dandan's eyes spun around, and in the end, he sensed something in a certain place. The few of them dug out a large pit, and sure enough, they found a few more ruins of God-ancient mines. This place is very magical. Let's take a look again, Lu Ming said. The group continued to venture deeper into the stone forest. Suddenly, a booming sound rang out and the three of them saw the stone pillars before them explode one by one. Rubble flew everywhere as a figure flew over. That figure had clearly been knocked flying by someone, and crashed into the stone pillars one after another. That was why those stone pillars had exploded. Bang! In the end, the figure crashed into a stone pillar as large as a mountain not far from Lu Ming and the others. It only came to a stop after smashing half of the stone pillar. That's Long Chin! The three of them narrowed their eyes and were shocked. That figure was actually Long Chin. At this moment, Long Chin spat out a mouthful of blood and also saw Lu Ming and the others. Let's go! Long Chin roared. Swoosh! Swoosh! Silhouettes flickered and appeared one after another. Powerful auras shrouded the entire stone forest. Among these people, there were middle-aged people and also white-haired old men. The auras released from their bodies were very shocking. The weakest were at the 8th level of the spirit god realm. There were also 9th level spirit gods, and there were even perfected spirit gods. Long Chin, let's see how you'll die today! An arrogant voice sounded. Two young men stepped out. Mu Feng, Mu Ju! Lu Ming narrowed his eyes. One of the two young men was Mu Feng, and the other was Mu Ju. The one who spoke just now was Mu Feng. At this moment, Mu Feng and Mu Ju turned their eyes and also saw Lu Ming and the others. Ha ha ha, Lu Ming, it's you guys! What a coincidence! I originally planned to kill Long Chin before looking for you guys. I didn't expect to meet you guys here. Ha ha, then I'll kill you guys together and save myself the trouble of looking for you guys. Mu Ju saw Lu Ming and let out a crazy laugh. Lu Ming's mind turned and he could roughly guess what had happened. It seemed like Mu Feng and Mu Ju were harboring hatred in their hearts and led experts to kill them in the ruins of God. The first person they encountered was Long Chin. They planned to kill Long Chin before going to kill Lu Ming and the others. However, they didn't expect that Lu Ming and the others would also come here. Kill them! Mu Ju roared. Boom! An old man appeared above Lu Ming and the others. A vast aura erupted and a huge fireball appeared in his palm. No, it wasn't a fireball, but a huge meteorite. Great Circle Spiritual God! Not good, retreat! Lu Ming's pupils shrank. The old man's aura was too shocking. He was a Great Circle Spiritual God. Without any hesitation, they frantically retreated. Boom! The moment they retreated, the meteorite came crashing down at an incredible speed. Get out of my way! At this moment, the 8 dragon energies in Lu Ming's body erupted and his third bloodline appeared. In an instant, Lu Ming threw out dozens of punches. Each punch was powerful and he hoped to weaken the meteorite's power. Heavenly Demon Force Field! Xian Yanqing used the Heavenly Demon Force Field to weaken the meteorite's power. Boom! The meteor exploded, and a violent energy spread out in all directions. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing retreated thousands of meters at high speed. They crashed into more than 10 huge stone pillars before they managed to stop themselves. Little Qing, are you alright? Lu Ming asked with concern. I'm fine. Xian Yanqing shook her head. Her body was surrounded by the Heavenly Demon Force Field, which weakened the meteorite's power. She was fine. Oh no, Tobashir! Lu Ming's expression changed. He did not see Tobashir beside him. Soon, the smoke and dust dissipated and the scene in front of them became clear. Tobashir also managed to block the attack. However, he was sent flying in another direction. That direction was closer to Mu Ju and the others. Bam! Tuobashir stood up from the rubble and blood flowed out of his mouth. Although he blocked the force, he was obviously injured. Tuobashir, run! Lu Ming shouted. Ha, you can't run away! Muju laughed. His figure flashed, and he pounced on Tuobashir at lightning speed. Tuobashir's cultivation was originally 2 realms lower than Muju's. Coupled with the fact that he was injured at the moment, Muju was able to grab his throat without any resistance. Lu Ming, kneel down and beg me. Otherwise, I'll kill your friend immediately. Muju laughed and looked at Lu Ming proudly. Lu Ming, run! Don't worry about me. Chapter 12-13. Shut up! Muju's eyes turned cold as he cut off Tuobashir's arm like a knife. Tuobashir let out a beast-like roar. Muju! At this moment, Lu Ming's eyes were incomparably cold and filled with killing intent. He stared at Muju and said, I'll kill you and make you die a miserable death. Ha, Lu Ming, are you joking? Kill me? Today, I've mobilized so many experts of the Mu clan. Do you think you can escape? All of you will die. Muju laughed out loud, extremely arrogant. Kill them! In the end, Muju waved his hand and gave the order. Kill! Die, brat! Cold shouts could be heard and terrifying auras erupted. Their vital essence boiled and terrifying murderous intent shrouded Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, and Long Chen. Roar! The archaic dragon-esque elephant appeared on Long Chen's body, and he turned into a giant elephant as big as a mountain. The archaic dragon-esque elephant let out a long roar and took a step forward. An 8th-level spirit god expert's expression changed drastically as he screamed miserably, and his body was torn apart. Then, the elephant swung its trunk and a 9th-level spirit god expert spat out blood and was sent flying in horror. Previously, one of their perfected spirit god experts suddenly attacked Long Chen and sent him flying. They thought that Long Chen was only SOSO. They didn't expect Long Chen to be so terrifying when he exploded. Shao Qing, help me! Lu Ming shouted as the 9 dragons' bloodline appeared above his head. Lu Ming transformed into 9 dragons. He stepped on the void and dashed toward Muju. Muju's expression changed drastically as he carried Tuobashir and retreated. He shouted, Kill him for me! Swoosh! Swoosh! In an instant, 5 or 6 experts rushed towards Lu Ming. The weakest among them was at the 8th-level spirit god realm. Heavenly Demon Force Field! Xian Yanqing also used the bloodline fusion and turned into a peerless heavenly demon. He pressed his jade-like hands and a powerful heavenly demon force field erupted. This is... The expressions of those 8th and even 9th-level spirit god experts changed one after another. This was because they were all obstructed by the heavenly demon force field, especially those at the 8th level of the spirit god realm. Devour! The 9 dragons roared, and the power of devouring erupted, enveloping the 5 or 6 experts, weakening their battle prowess once again. Bang! 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 Then the 9 dragons stepped out. Oh no! Ah! A few shrill cries resounded out successively as a few 8th-level spirit god realm experts were split into pieces under the 9 dragons' claws, and they perished on the spot. Bang! Bang! The 2 9th-level spirit god realm experts retreated madly as well, and they spat out large mouthfuls of blood while their countenances were ghastly pale. Kill! The 9 dragons roared as they took a few steps forward. Their 2 dragon claws clawed at the 2 9th-layer spirit god realm experts. The might of the hell-suppressing heaven art erupted, making it impossible for them to dodge. Help! The 2 experts at the 9th level of the spirit god realm roared loudly with terror, and then they executed their bloodline fusion techniques and erupted with all their strength to resist. However, it was useless. Under the 9 dragons' dragon claw, his bloodline collapsed. When he returned to his human form, he was torn apart by the dragon claw. Roar! The power of devouring erupted and completely devoured the blood essence energy of the spirit god realm experts. This, Mu Ju and Mu Feng were almost scared out of their wits, and they retreated madly. This was too terrifying and too shocking. Long Qin and Lu Ming had erupted with power, and they could kill 8th level Spirit God Realm experts like they were slaughtering chickens. Even 9th level Spirit God Realm experts were dead. They were only at the 5th level of the Spirit God Realm, so how could they be so terrifying? Bastard, you're courting death! An explosive shout resounded as a white-haired old man stepped out and struck out with his palm. Surging lava roiled in his palm, and it condensed into a meteorite that blasted towards Lu Ming. Perfect Spirit God Realm. The Perfect Spirit God Realm expert attacked again. Bang! A Perfect Spirit God Realm expert was too powerful, and his battle prowess was several times stronger than a 9th level Spirit God Realm expert. His true essence erupted, and with a shake, it shattered Xian Yanqing's heavenly demon force field. Xian Yanqing's delicate body trembled, and she retreated repeatedly with a pale face. Bang! 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 The 9 dragon claws stepped out continuously, bombarding the meteorite, and 9 explosions resounded. With each explosion, Lu Ming retreated a few steps. After 9 explosions, Lu Ming retreated repeatedly, and his dragon body trembled. Lu Ming was suppressed by a Perfect Spirit God Realm expert in the end. Roar! On the other side, the primordial dragonesque elephant let out a long roar. Its power was incomparably powerful, and it killed several experts in succession. Even a 9th level Spirit God Realm expert died in Long Chen's hands. But at this time, a Perfect Spirit God Realm expert also attacked and suppressed Long Chen. Lu Ming, retreat quickly, don't worry about me! Tuobashir roared. With Lu Ming's battle prowess, if they wanted to break out of the encirclement, they might be able to break out. Lu Ming, if you break out of the encirclement, I'll kill him immediately! Mu Ju shouted. Lu Ming and Long Chen's battle prowess really scared him. If he let such powerful figures escape, he wouldn't be able to live in peace in the future. Don't even think about using me to threaten them. Even if I die, I won't die in such a cowardly manner! Tuobashir roared furiously. A terrifying fluctuation erupted from his body, emitting a dazzling radiance. You lunatic! Mu Ju's expression changed drastically. He suddenly shook off Tuobashir and retreated frantically. Haha, let's die together! Tuobashir laughed and rushed towards Mu Feng and Mu Ju. Bang! Then, Tuobashir's entire body exploded, and violent energy swept towards Mu Feng and Mu Ju. Self-explosion, Tuobashir self-exploded, and there was nothing left of him. 2 figures flew out. They were Mu Feng and Mu Ju. At this time, Mu Feng was incomparably miserable. Both of his arms were gone, and half of his body was blown up. His eyes were wide open, filled with unwillingness. However, his vitality was quickly dissipating, and even a deity couldn't save him. Mu Ju's cultivation was strong, and he was much better off. He only spat out a mouthful of blood. Young lord, are you all right? 2 experts appeared beside Mu Ju. I'm fine. Attack, kill them! Attack together and kill them all! Mu Ju roared. The remaining experts rushed towards Long Chen, Lu Ming, and Xian Yanqing. There were as many as 4 people in the Great Perfection Spirit God Realm. The remaining people were all in the 9th level Spirit God Realm. Tuoba! At this moment, Lu Ming calmed down. However, the extremely cold killing intent in his eyes was unimaginably dense. Shao Qing, enter the mountain river diagram! Lu Ming said to Xian Yanqing. Xian Yanqing nodded. She knew that Lu Ming would be able to perform better if he was alone. With a roll of light, Xian Yanqing's figure was sucked into the mountain river diagram. Kill! With a loud shout, a huge stone tablet appeared. Suppressing prison steel bloodline. The 9 dragons turned into a ray of light and entered the suppressing prison steel bloodline. Buzz! The suppressing prison steel bloodline vibrated and became 10,000 feet tall, emitting a terrifying fluctuation. Especially the word steel at the bottom, it had a shocking energy. Bang! The suppressing prison steel suppressed a Great Perfection Spirit God Realm expert. Break! Chapter 12:14. The hell-suppressing steel collided with the meteor like two stars colliding, and a terrifying energy fluctuation swept out in all directions. Countless stone pillars were turned into powder by the energy fluctuation. Bang! Amidst the flaming radiance that filled the sky, the enormous meteor was blasted back violently and fiercely collided with the ground, creating a huge hole. The perfection stage spiritual god expert was no match for Lu Ming and fell into a disadvantageous position. Not far away, Mu Ju was almost scared to death. This is too terrifying. Even a perfection stage spiritual god expert is no match for him. What combat strength is this? Suppress! A cold and indifferent voice sounded out from the hell-suppressing steel and continued to suppress the enormous meteor. Swoosh! At this moment, an enormous palm blasted out from the side and blasted onto the hell-suppressing steel, blocking it for a moment. It was another perfection stage spiritual god expert. Bang! Seizing this opportunity, the enormous meteor flew out of the ground and converged with the other perfection stage spiritual god expert. Let's attack together. This person is too monstrous! An aged voice sounded out from the enormous meteor, and it was filled with dense astonishment. Attack! The other perfection stage spiritual god shouted loudly. The two perfection stage spiritual gods joined forces and charged towards Lu Ming. A perfection stage spiritual god was several times stronger than a 9th-level spiritual god and was extremely terrifying. In a sense, a perfection stage spiritual god was already at the peak of the spiritual god realm, and stood at the peak of the spiritual god realm. On the other hand, a perfection stage spiritual god was actually just a transitional stage on the way to becoming an emperor. An emperor needed to transform one's intent into a domain, whereas a sovereign had already comprehended the embryonic form of a domain, but hadn't completely transformed it into a domain. Kill! Even when facing two perfection stage spiritual gods, Lu Ming's killing intent still soared into the sky. The hell-suppressing steel emitted a dazzling radiance, and madly pressed down on the two. Bang! Bang! The two perfection stage spiritual gods joined forces to resist and erupted with terrifying attacks, but the result was that they were suppressed by Lu Ming and were constantly bombarded by the steel, causing them to retreat repeatedly. The two of them joined forces but were still at a disadvantage. Heaven battling Dracophant! On the other side, the archaic dragonesque elephant went berserk. Its body swelled up, and dense scales covered its body. It was 30,000 meters tall and had a terrifying might that could trample mountains and rivers. Long Chun was facing two perfection stage domain enlightened spirit gods as well. At this moment, the terrifying combat strength of the primordial dragonesque mammoth was vividly displayed. He wasn't at a disadvantage at all when fighting two perfection stage domain enlightened spirit gods by himself, and he was even in an advantageous position. Perfect bloodline of one of the top 10 beasts, its power is indeed terrifying. Lu Ming sensed the situation over there and was secretly shocked. At the same time, Lu Ming was also looking forward to the 9 Dragons bloodline. Right now, the 9 Dragons bloodline was only at the 8th level of the divine realm and had yet to reach perfection. However, once the 9 Dragons bloodline reached perfection, it would definitely become even stronger and give birth to the 9th dragon force. Its power would definitely be even more terrifying. At that time, with just the 9 Dragons bloodline, his power would not be weaker than Long Chen's. When the two of them joined forces, they'd actually forcefully suppress 4 perfection stage spirit god realm experts. How could this be? How could this be? Mu Ju muttered to himself as his eyes widened in fear. They were too strong. The strength of Lu Ming and Long Chen had far exceeded his expectations. He'd already overestimated Lu Ming enough. He'd brought 4 perfection stage spirit god realm experts along with more than 10 8th level and 9th level spirit god realm experts. With such terrifying combat strength, not only had they failed to kill Lu Ming and Long Chen, but they'd also fallen into a disadvantageous position. He'd never dreamt of this. Buzz! The prison-suppressing steel shook and repelled the 2 perfection stage spirit god realm experts. Then, It moved horizontally and killed a 9th-level spirit god realm expert. Then, the prison-suppressing steel directly pressed down on a perfection stage spirit god realm expert who was fighting with Long Chen. That expert had never expected that Lu Ming would suddenly attack him. At this moment, he was fighting with Long Chen with all his strength. He was caught off guard and was hit by the prison-suppressing steel. He let out a miserable cry as half of his body exploded. He only had half a breath left as he fell to the ground. "Join forces," Lu Ming said. "All right," Long Chen replied without the slightest hesitation. He let out a long roar and stomped out with his elephant leg that was like a heavenly pillar. The other perfection stage spirit god realm expert spat out a mouthful of blood and retreated. Buzz. Then, Lu Ming pressed down and killed the perfection stage spirit god realm expert. "Not good! Young master, retreat!" The two perfection stage spirit god realm experts who were fighting with Lu Ming earlier had a drastic change in expression. Lu Ming suddenly shifted his opponent and joined forces with Long Chen to kill the two perfection stage spirit god realm experts. It was already too late for them to help. At this moment, all they could think of was to escape. "Run! Run! Run!" Mu Ju roared in his heart as he turned around and fled madly. The two perfection stage spirit god realm experts followed closely behind him. There were also a few 9th-level spirit god realm experts. Kill! How could Lu Ming let Mu Ju escape so easily? The huge prison-suppressing steel broke through space and charged towards Mu Ju. Bang! Bang! The primordial dragonesque elephant stepped on the void, causing space to explode as he chased after Mu Ju. The distance between both sides was constantly closing. "Run! Run! You guys take me and run quickly! You guys go and block them!" Mu Ju ordered the two perfection stage spirit god realm experts to take him and escape. He also ordered a few 9th-level spirit god realm experts to block Lu Ming's group. The faces of the few 9th-level spirit god realm experts turned red. Asking them to block Lu Ming's group? Wasn't that just courting death? They naturally didn't want to go. "If you guys don't go, I'll go back and report to my father. You guys will also die!" Mu Ju roared in anger. He was the young master of the Mu family. Moreover, he was extremely talented and would definitely step into the Emperor realm in the future. Therefore, he had a lot of authority. The few 9th-level spirit god realm experts looked at each other and suddenly flew to both sides. They actually fled directly. They would die if they went to block Lu Ming's group. They would also die if they went back. They might as well run away directly. "Damn traitor!" Mu Ju roared and almost wet himself. The two perfection stage spirit god realm experts took Mu Ju and ran at top speed. However, Lu Ming and Long Chen were getting closer and closer. "Not good! Lu Ming, a Supreme Being expert is approaching. It might be the Mu family's Supreme Being!" Dandan suddenly shouted. "Supreme Being!" Lu Ming's face changed. With his current cultivation, he would definitely die if he went against the Supreme Being. A Supreme Being was already half a step into the Emperor realm. Once the embryonic form of the domain was released, who could compete with him? Killing a perfection stage spirit god was as easy as eating and drinking. Lu Ming's group was no match for him. "Lu Ming, retreat quickly. Otherwise it will be too late. A Supreme Being can tear space apart and travel!" Dandan anxiously shouted. Lu Ming's face changed. He then shouted, "Long Chen, go!" After saying that, Lu Ming turned around and flew away. There would be plenty of opportunities to kill Xian Yanqing in the future. However, he couldn't bring Xian Yanqing along to face a Supreme Being with him now. Although Long Chen didn't know why, seeing Lu Ming acting like this, he must have discovered something. Without hesitation, he turned around and followed Lu Ming, running wildly to the rear. In the blink of an eye, the two of them were far away. Chapter 12-15. Huff. Mu Ju heaved a long sigh of relief after escaping with his life. His body was drenched in cold sweat. "Lu Ming, Long Chen!" Mu Ju gritted his teeth. This time, their losses were too great. They had lost more than a dozen 8th and 9th level Spirit God Realm experts and 2 Great Perfection Spirit God Realm experts. They were all high-level Spirit God Realm experts. Even if the Divine Ruins continent was filled with experts, he would still be punished by his father for losing so many of them. Rip! Suddenly, the space cracked and a middle-aged man stepped out. Elder Mu Yu, it's you? Mu Ju's eyes lit up when he saw the middle-aged man. He was excited. Supreme, the Mu family's Supreme is here. He finally knew why Lu Ming and the others were in such a hurry to escape. They must have sensed the arrival of a Supreme. Young Lord, what's going on? Mu Yu frowned when she saw Mu Ju and the others in a sorry state. Someone killed the Mu family's people. Elder Mu Yu, they are in front of us. Quickly chase after them and kill them! Mu Ju shouted. Who dares to kill my Mu family's people? Courting death! Young Lord, I'll bring you with me. Let's chase after them. Mu Yu's true essence wrapped around Mu Ju and tore the space apart. She brought Mu Ju into the space and chased after Lu Ming and the others. Lu Ming, what's going on? Lu Ming and Long Chen were running at full speed. A Supreme is coming, Lu Ming said. Long Chen's face changed. Although he didn't know how Lu Ming could sense the Supreme, they would die if they were to face a Supreme with their current strength. Both of them were extremely fast. They were like 2 streaks of lightning that pierced through the void. At this moment, Lu Ming had already transformed into 9 dragons. The 9 dragons stepped on the void, and their speed was shocking. Long Chen's ancient dragonesque elephant might have a huge body and boundless strength, but its speed was terrifyingly fast. Every step it took caused the void to explode. It covered 1,000 li in a single step. The 2 of them were heading towards the core of the Divine Ruins. Not good. Hurry up. The Supreme is coming, Dandan urged anxiously. Quick! Lu Ming shouted. He and Long Chen erupted with all their strength and rushed forward. When Lu Ming heard that the Jizun was coming, he did not hesitate to fly towards the core of the Ruins of God. If they had headed in any other direction, they definitely wouldn't have been able to escape. A Jizun could tear through space, and no matter how fast they were, they wouldn't be able to outrun a Jizun. They would definitely be caught. The only way to survive was the core of the Ruins of God. Although the core of the Ruins of God was rumored to be very dangerous, he could only take a gamble. Almost there! Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The area ahead was filled with blood-red mist. Looking from afar, it looked hazy. That was the core area of the Ruins of God, the legendary Forbidden Area. Anyone who entered would die. However, Lu Ming and Long Chen had no choice but to enter and hide temporarily. Whoosh! Whoosh! Both of them were decisive people. Without any hesitation, they charged into the blood-colored area and disappeared. Rip! Just as the 2 of them charged into the core area, the space outside the core area cracked open. Mu Yu and Mu Ju stepped out of the crack. Young master, they've entered the core area. Mu Yu frowned. Humph, the core area is a place where even emperors will die. They're dead for sure. It's a pity that they're going to die just like that. Mu Ju's face was hideous as he gritted his teeth. He originally wanted to take down Lu Ming and Long Chen and make them wish they were dead. Also, Xiang Yanqing was such a beauty. He wanted to take her down and enjoy her, but now, he could only let them die for free. They naturally did not dare to enter the core area of the Ruins of God because even emperors would die if they entered. It was too strange and dangerous. However, Mu Ju was still worried and said, Elder Mu Yu, please stay here for half a month. No one has been able to survive for more than half a month in the core area. If they don't come out after half a month, it means that they're dead for sure. All right, young master, please rest assured. Mu Yu nodded. Then Mu Ju waited for a day. After a day, Lu Ming and the rest did not come out, so Mu Ju went back alone, leaving Mu Yu to wait for them. As soon as Lu Ming and Long Chen rushed into the core area of the Ruins of God, the environment behind them changed abruptly, as though the stars had changed. What's going on? The two of them stopped at the same time and looked behind them. There was a blood mist behind them, and they could not see the situation clearly. Logically speaking, although there was blood mist, they should be able to see some things with their eyesight. But now, everything was blurry. This place, could it be that we're in a formation? Lu Ming guessed. Phew, we're safe. I can't sense that prime anymore. Dandan patted its chest with its claws and let out a long breath. The 9 dragons shrunk their bodies. Lu Ming and Long Chen turned into their human forms. Prime did not chase after us. Let's recover first. With that, Lu Ming landed. This area was still in ruins. Below them was the remains of an ancient palace. Lu Ming landed and sat cross-legged on a huge rock. With a wave of his hand, a large pile of ores appeared. Lu Ming swallowed them and began to refine them. After a series of battles, his true essence was severely depleted and needed to recover. Long Chen did the same. He took out a pile of ores and began to recover. Half an hour later, their true essence had recovered to its peak. Whoosh whoosh, the cold wind whistled, and it was the only sound in this silent land. The blood mist seemed to have thickened. Lu Ming, we have to leave this place as soon as possible. I feel that this place is very strange. If we stay here for too long, it will be very dangerous. Dandan's eyes darted around as she said. Lu Ming nodded. His glabella shone and Xian Yanqing's figure appeared. This is? Xian Yanqing looked around and was slightly stunned. Shao Qin, this is the core of the ruins of God. Lu Ming gave a brief account of what had happened. Then, they chose the direction they came from and walked in that direction. However, after walking for a while, they found that they couldn't get out at all. It was as if they didn't come from this direction at all. Is it really a formation? Lu Ming frowned. No, this is more advanced than a formation. There is an inexplicable force that changed the field of the area, making it impossible to tell the direction in this place. Right now, we seem to be walking out, but it is possible that we are walking in. Dandan frowned and analyzed. Dandan, can you see the flaws and find a way out? Lu Ming asked. If I was at my peak, this would be nothing. But now, I can only try my best. Dandan smiled awkwardly. Buzz. At this moment, not far from Lu Ming, a huge bluestone suddenly emitted a bright light. Endless inscriptions shone, forming chains that were filled with flames. In the light was Long Chen. Chapter 12:16. There was an array hidden in the green stone. Dandan was careless and did not notice it. Whoosh! Whoosh! The flaming chains wrapped around Long Chen. Break! Long Chen shouted angrily and threw out both his fists. Boom! Boom! The 2 fists were powerful and they pierced through the space. However, the flaming chains were very sturdy. Long Chen's fists only shook the flaming chains but did not break them. Whoosh! 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 The green stone glowed and more flaming chains appeared. Long Chen shouted angrily. His body glowed and his arms became thicker. A layer of scales appeared on his arms and he threw out a punch. Clang! One of the flaming chains was finally broken. Following that were even more chains. 2 of the chains had already wrapped themselves around Long Chen's body. Whoosh! Whoosh! The chains wrapped around Long Chen's body and there was green smoke coming out of his body. The flaming chains were extremely terrifying. They ignored Long Chen's protective true origin and acted directly on his body. A layer of scales appeared on Long Chen's skin. It was exactly the same as the scales on the immemorial dragonesque elephant. Whoosh! The chains acted on the scales, making them sizzle. It looked like it would not last long. Break! Long Chen's muscles bulged and he grabbed the 2 chains. He struggled with all his might and finally broke the 2 chains. However, more chains appeared in the surroundings and enveloped Long Chen. The flaming chains are terrifying. They can break objects. I don't think Long Chen can last long, Xian Yanqing said solemnly. Lu Ming stared at the green stone and the runes without blinking. He was looking for a way to break it. Whoosh! Whoosh! As time passed, the green stone glowed brighter and more flaming chains appeared. Longchen was having a harder time. There were already a few marks on his body, and he was almost cut in half by the flaming chains. Longchen, take 2 steps to the right and 3 steps back. Suddenly, Lu Ming's voice was heard. Longchen was stunned and did as he was told without hesitation. He took 2 steps to the right and 3 steps back. A few chains swept past Longchen's body. 4 steps to the right, 2 steps forward, 5 steps to the left. Lu Ming's eyes were fixed on Qing Shi as he constantly gave out instructions. Now, Ming Lian's second body had already obtained the inheritance of the heavenly profound saint in the Saint Mansion's secret realm. He had been cultivating diligently in the Saint Mansion's secret realm, and his progress in the Tao of inscription had been terrifying. Lu Ming's main body and second body were connected. As the second body's Tao of inscription improved, Lu Ming's eyesight also improved greatly. Although he didn't have the spiritual fire and couldn't inscribe inscriptions, he could still see the flaws in the formation. Longchen followed Lu Ming's instructions. Sometimes right, sometimes left, sometimes behind, sometimes in front. He avoided all of the chains and slowly left the range of the bluestone. Dandan, I need your help, Lu Ming said to Dandan when he saw that Longchen had reached the edge of the bluestone. Don't worry, watch me. Dandan flew out and waved his claws. Inscriptions appeared, forming a large formation and rushed into the bluestone. Longchen, you're out! Lu Ming shouted. Longchen didn't hesitate and rushed out. The formation formed by Dandan shone and temporarily imprisoned the flame chains. However, in the next moment, it collapsed one by one. Longchen took this short opportunity to rush out of the range of the bluestone and let out a long breath. Brother Lu, thank you for saving me! Longchen cupped his fists at Lu Ming. You're welcome. It's nothing. Lu Ming smiled. I, Longchen, clearly distinguish between kindness and hatred. Longchen will remember you saving my life this time, Longchen said solemnly. Lu Ming smiled and didn't say much. You have to be careful in this place. It looks dilapidated, but there are some places with broken formations. Even after countless years, they are still very powerful, Dandan reminded. Dandan, do you know how to get out? Lu Ming asked. I can only try my best. Follow me and don't wander around. Dandan flew out and circled around the area, carefully sizing it up. This way. After a while, Dandan pointed in a direction. This way? Aren't we heading towards the core of the ruins of God? Lu Ming was puzzled. Xian Yanqing and Longchen also looked at Dandan in confusion. What are you looking at? If you don't believe me, then look for it yourself. Dandan curled his lips and scampered forward. Lu Ming was speechless and could only believe this guy. The 3 of them followed Dandan and moved forward carefully. Dandan observed carefully, and Lu Ming also observed carefully. Along the way, they avoided many broken formations and moved forward. There's an ancient mine of the ruins of God. Xian Yanqing's eyes lit up as he looked not far away. There were a few ancient mines of the ruins of God that were exposed to the outside world. No one had ever entered the core of the ruins of God to excavate it. It was definitely a huge treasure trove. There are no formations there. We can take them. Lu Ming circulated his vital essence and took the few ancient mines of the ruins of God. You have to remember that some of the broken formations are very powerful. If you enter, even an Emperor Realm expert will die. Even if you see the ancient mines of the ruins of God, don't take them. Don't be blinded by greed. Dandan had a mature look on her face as she patiently and kindly warned everyone. But in the next moment, Dandan's eyes lit up as he stared to the right and shouted, Level 9 spiritual medicine! Then, he ran over, grabbed a sparkling and resplendent spiritual medicine, and stuffed it into his mouth. Buzz! In that place, inscriptions flickered, forming terrifying beams of light that shot towards Dandan. Dandan jumped up and down in a panic. In the end, it relied on its strong defensive power and profound inscription path to escape. Lu Ming and the others were speechless. This fellow had just warned them, but when he saw the spiritual medicine, he immediately rushed over. However, they were also secretly shocked. The spiritual medicine that Dandan had obtained just now was indeed extremely shocking. It was a level 9 spiritual medicine. This area was truly a treasure trove. The group moved forward carefully. Along the way, they had indeed encountered many treasures, mainly the ancient mines of the ruins of God and spiritual medicines. Most of the spiritual medicines went into Dandan's mouth, while the ancient mines of the ruins of God were divided equally between Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, and Long Qin. Of course, in some dangerous places, even if they saw spiritual medicines and ancient mines of the ruins of God, they did not take them and directly gave up. This is a 9-leaf Ganoderma. Not long after, they saw a spiritual medicine with 9 leaves. It was crystal clear and had a medicinal fragrance. It was actually a 9-leaf Ganoderma, one of the main ingredients for refining the Nirvana pill. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He did not expect to encounter a 9-leaf Ganoderma here. However, the place where the 9-leaf Ganoderma grew had an incomplete formation. In the end, Lu Ming and Dandan worked together and spent a lot of effort to successfully pluck the 9-leaf Ganoderma. For this, Dandan vomited a few mouthfuls of blood and cried out that he had suffered a loss. Chapter 12:17. Whoosh whoosh, the cold wind whistled and the blood mist rolled. They did not know how long they had been walking, but they still could not get out. The blood mist around them was getting thicker and thicker. Dandan, can we get out or not? Lu Ming asked. Cough, cough. Don't be impatient, trust me. Dandan coughed a few times and said. Hearing Dandan's dry coughing, Lu Ming felt even more uncertain. This guy's dry coughing was definitely not a good thing. Sure enough, after walking for a while, there were no signs of getting out at all. Instead, there were more and more broken formations around them, and Lu Ming judged that the formations were getting stronger and stronger. They walked even more carefully. There's a palace in front! Suddenly, Xian Yanqing exclaimed. Lu Ming and Long Qin looked over, their eyes revealing shock. A palace appeared in front of them. It was a complete black palace that was incomparably huge. It was thousands of meters tall, magnificent and full of the traces of time. Ever since they entered the ruins of God, they had not found a complete building, let alone a complete palace. But in front of them, there was a complete palace. A complete palace, there must be treasures inside. Dandan's eyes lit up. If there are treasures, it means more danger, Lu Ming said. In the end, everyone discussed and decided to explore. Since they were already here, it would be a pity if they did not explore. The 3 people and 1 tortoise carefully approached the huge palace. They could see that there was a huge door in the middle of the palace. The door was open, but it was dark inside and they could not see the situation clearly. Bang! 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 Suddenly, a series of rumbling sounds came from the palace, as if a huge monster was walking. It seems like something is coming, Lu Ming whispered, his eyes solemn. Let's retreat first. Dandan swallowed his saliva, feeling a little scared. They retreated for a while before finding a huge rock to hide behind. Dandan inscribed an array formation to restrain their auras. After concealing their auras, they began to observe the battle quietly. Bang! 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 The sounds became louder and louder, one after another, very rhythmic, as if a huge monster was walking. It's out! That's a dragon! Xian Yanqing exclaimed softly. His voice was filled with shock. A decapitated dragon, and Long Qin spoke. This peerless genius, who had always been very calm and expressionless, suddenly changed his expression. His voice was very shocked and very hoarse. Lu Ming's pupils suddenly contracted. At the entrance of the palace, a huge monster finally revealed its true body. It was a dragon with 5 claws under its belly. It was a true dragon, a 5-clawed true dragon. However, the most shocking thing was that this true dragon did not have a head. Its head seemed to have been chopped off. Its entire body was covered in black scales and emitted a terrifying aura. The most shocking thing was that there was a knight sitting on the back of the dragon. A knight in black armor was holding a dragon spear that was several meters long. Like the true dragon, this black-armored knight did not have a head. A headless knight riding a headless true dragon walked out of the palace, giving off a terrifying aura. Lu Ming and the others felt their scalps go numb. Roar! The headless true dragon actually let out an earth-shaking dragon roar, causing Lu Ming and the others' eardrums to hurt. Then, the headless knight riding the headless true dragon actually walked in their direction. As the true dragon stepped, the earth rumbled. Oh no, they've discovered us! Lu Ming's expression changed drastically. Run, run quickly! Dandan exclaimed and turned to run. However, Buzz! The headless true dragon knight emitted a terrifying fluctuation. This fluctuation was stronger than any emperor that Lu Ming had encountered. The space around them seemed to have solidified. Their bodies were suppressed by the space and could not move at all. It was as if they were fixed in place. Lu Ming exerted all his strength, but it was still useless. He could not even activate his bloodline. Too strong. This headless true dragon knight was too strong. Its combat strength was terrifying. Dandan, you're in big trouble this time! Lu Ming shouted. I don't know either. Dandan maintained its running posture and was fixed in the air. Its mouth was crooked. Bang! Bang! The headless true dragon knight stepped closer and closer to them. Its powerful aura caused the boulders in front of them to shatter. They were directly exposed to the headless knight. Trespassers, die! A cold and emotionless voice came from the headless knight. Shao Qing! Lu Ming looked at Xian Yanqing. This time, they were most likely doomed. Lu Ming, as long as I'm with you, so what if I die? Xian Yanqing transmitted his voice to Lu Ming, his eyes full of affection. No way, I didn't die in that earth-shattering battle back then, but I'm going to die here? No way, no! Dandan shouted, his voice full of unwillingness. Bang! The headless knight stood in front of them and pointed the dragon's spear in his hand. A cold, murderous intent enveloped them. Kill! Nobody knew where the headless knight's cold voice came from. But at this moment, Lu Ming's body glowed. A purple gold token floated out from Lu Ming's body. Hunyuan token! This was the Hunyuan token that Lu Ming had obtained in the Battle of Providence. Lu Ming didn't know how to use it, but now, it floated out on its own. At the same time, on the other side, a purple gold token appeared on Long Chen's body. It was also a Hunyuan token. Long Chen had also obtained a Hunyuan token when he participated in the Battle of Providence. 2 Hunyuan tokens flew out, emitting a dazzling light. The headless true dragon knight stopped moving instantly, as if it was looking at the 2 Hunyuan tokens. Hunyuan tokens, you are disciples of the Hunyuan sect. It's been countless years. I didn't expect to see disciples of the Hunyuan sect again. Since you are disciples of the Hunyuan sect, you are one of us. Come in. A cold and dry voice came from the headless true dragon knight. The pressure on Lu Ming and the others also disappeared without a trace. Lu Ming and the others immediately regained their freedom. Shao Qing! Lu Ming held Xian Yanqing's small hand and looked at the headless true dragon knight cautiously. How many years has it been? I finally see disciples of the Hunyuan sect again. How is the Hunyuan sect now? Is it still resisting, or has it been destroyed? A leisurely voice came from the headless true dragon knight. Then, the headless true dragon knight turned and left. Step by step, it walked into the dark palace and disappeared without a trace. Come in. What opportunities you can get will depend on your luck. The headless true dragon knight's voice came from the palace. Then, it was completely silent. Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, and Long Chen were a little stunned and confused. Chapter 12-18. Strange, too strange. Obviously, the headless true dragon knight recognized the primordial chaos token. Also, the primordial chaos sect? What was that? A sect? Could it be the controller behind the War of Providence? At this moment, Lu Ming thought of many things, but he also had more questions. However, one thing was certain. The Headless True Dragon Knight seemed to be on the same side as the Primordial Chaos sect. At least, they were not enemies, which was why they were let go. This is a supreme powerhouse. After death, his battle soul did not dissipate and turned into a Headless True Dragon Knight to protect this territory. Also, the Primordial Chaos sect? Dandan said slowly, as if trying to recall something, frowning. Suddenly, Dandan raised his eyebrows, and his eyes lit up. Dandan, what did you remember? Lu Ming asked. The Primordial Chaos sect, the #1 sect in the world, the most powerful force, Dandan said. The #1 sect in the world? You mean the primordial realm? Lu Ming asked. The world is very big, and it's not just the primordial realm, Dandan said. You mean the heavenly realm? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He was very shocked. Of course, the conversation between the two was in the form of voice transmission. No one else could hear it. Xian Yanqing did not mind if he heard it. He was not familiar with Long Chen, and there were some things that he did not want Long Chen to know. Yes, the Primordial Chaos sect is the #1 sect in the world. Unfortunately, it was destroyed back then. Moreover, this place is most likely related to the Primordial Chaos sect. Therefore, you have the Primordial Chaos token, so the Headless True Dragon Knight will not kill you, Dandan said. Dandan, what happened to the heavenly realm? Lu Ming stared at Dandan and asked. Lu Ming was really curious. He found that many things in the primordial realm were related to the heavenly realm. Legend had it that in ancient times, corpses fell from the sky and formed the 100 Gods slope in the Tianxian domain. There was also the ancient desolate city, which was also an object of the heavenly realm. In the end, it broke through the void and arrived on a small island in the heavenly realm. There was also the Gate of Heaven, which was connected to the heavenly realm. Dandan came out of the Gate of Heaven. Now, the Battle of Providence was also suspected to be controlled by the Primordial Chaos sect of the Heaven realm, and the current ruins of God. The Primordial realm seemed to be inextricably linked to the Heaven realm. Dandan would often mutter about the battle back then. What was that battle referring to? Since the Hun Yuan sect was the #1 sect in the world, why was it destroyed? Was it because of the three-eyed divine race? I can't tell you. Firstly, my memory is fuzzy and I can't remember it clearly. Secondly, your cultivation is too weak. Telling you won't do you any good. There are some things that you will naturally know when your cultivation reaches a certain level, Dandan said in a deep voice. It was rare for him to be so serious. Lu Ming pursed his lips, but since Dandan didn't say anything, he didn't bother to ask. Indeed, that kind of thing was too far away from him. His current goal was to improve his cultivation and deal with the... Lu Ming, are we going in? Xian Yanqing asked as he looked at the palace in front of him. Let's go in. Since the Headless True Dragon Rider isn't hostile to us, let's go in and explore, Lu Ming said. Long Chen nodded without hesitation. Indeed, there might be some opportunities inside. If there are treasures, I'll be rich. Dandan's eyes lit up again. Immediately, the three of them and the tortoise walked into the palace gate. After walking through the gate, their vision widened and they could vaguely see the main hall. The main hall was very spacious. In the middle, there was a huge aisle. On both sides of the aisle, there were stone rooms. The few of them checked several stone rooms in a row, but found nothing. Suddenly, Long Chen's expression changed as if he had sensed something. He strode forward and came to a sealed stone room. When he arrived, Long Chen's body glowed. The Archean dragon-esque elephant bloodline automatically appeared above his head. Roar! The Archean dragon-esque elephant bloodline howled and slammed into the stone door of the stone room. Crack! The stone door opened and a domineering aura emanated from inside. This is... Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were shocked to see a statue in the stone room. The statue was obviously a huge elephant. The elephant was covered in scales and its aura was domineering. It was obviously an Archean dragonesque elephant. There was actually an Archean dragonesque elephant statue here. It was lifelike and looked exactly the same as Long Chen's bloodline. However, its aura was stronger, more shocking, and more domineering. Long Chen's eyes lit up. He strode in and sat under the Archean dragonesque elephant statue. The Archean dragonesque elephant bloodline above his head resonated with the statue. The statue flashed with light. "This kid is pretty lucky to have obtained a great opportunity," Dandan said. Lu Ming nodded. Long Chen had indeed obtained a great opportunity. The Archean dragonesque elephant statue was definitely left behind by a supreme expert. It contained the charm of the Archean dragonesque elephant. Long Chen will probably be cultivating here for a short period of time. "Let's go," Lu Ming said. Then, he left with Xian Yanqing and Dandan. They walked forward and looked at every secret room on both sides of the passage. Unfortunately, they found nothing. Soon they passed through the passage. Behind them was a ruin. Suddenly, Xian Yanqing's glabella flickered. "There seems to be something underground," Xian Yanqing said. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He began to dig under the ruins. Soon, he dug dozens of meters deep. Below, a huge ancient mine of the ruins of God appeared. Yes, the ancient mine of the ruins of God was the size of a water tank. It was dozens of times bigger than the other ancient mines of God. "It's so heavy!" Lu Ming mentioned it, but he didn't manage to lift it. "Get up!" Lu Ming unleashed 8 streams of dragon force to lift the ancient mine of the ruins of God and fly it out of the deep pit. Xian Yanqing's true yuan boiled and demonic qi shone on his body. Above his head, the heavenly demon bloodline appeared. "I have a strong reaction to this ancient mine of the ruins of God. It seems that there is a devil inside." Xian Yanqing's eyes revealed curiosity and nervousness. Rich, this girl is rich. There is indeed something extraordinary sealed in this ancient mine of the ruins of God. Dandan circled around the ancient mine of the ruins of God, his eyes shining as he muttered nonstop. "Break it and take a look," Lu Ming said. "Wait a minute, let me set up a formation, just in case." Dandan called out to Lu Ming, and then set up a dense array around the ancient mine of the ruins of God. "That's enough," Dandan said. Lu Ming nodded. His true yuan condensed into a blade and began to cut the ancient mine of the ruins of God. The yellow ore was cut off layer by layer. Slowly, the ancient mine of the ruins of God became smaller and smaller. In the end, it was only the size of a fist. "It's so small, what could be inside?" Lu Ming was curious. His true yuan shook. Crack! The ancient mine of the ruins of God cracked open. Immediately, a powerful demonic qi spread out from the crack. This demonic qi was extremely terrifying. Although it didn't feel strong, that kind of aura was high and mighty, like an emperor looking down on all living things. Bang! Chapter 12:19. The black bead was the size of a longan, but it contained a shocking demonic aura and a vast demonic aura. Lu Ming felt as if he was facing a supreme being of the demonic path. The feeling was many times stronger than when he faced Xiaowan. "This is a sacred heart?" "No, it doesn't seem like it." Lu Ming was shocked. At first, he felt that it was a sacred heart left behind by a sage. Lu Ming had seen a sacred heart left behind by a heavenly profound sage before, but after taking a closer look, it didn't seem like it. Buzz. Whoosh. The black bead let out a buzzing sound and then shot into the sky as if it had a mind of its own. "I knew it," Dandan said. Inscriptions appeared around them and a large array was formed, forming countless dense ribbons that blocked the black bead like an inescapable net. The black bead didn't rush out and immediately changed its direction, but it was still blocked by the array. The black bead rushed left and right with a monstrous demonic aura, but unfortunately it didn't rush out. Dandan was already prepared and set up the array just in case. Naturally, it wasn't that simple. At this time, the demonic aura on Xian Yanqing's body became denser. Her bloodline was glowing as if it was resonating with the black bead. Buzz. In the end, the black bead seemed to have no choice but to turn around and fly directly towards Yan Yanqing. Oh no! Lu Ming's face changed and he wanted to stop it. Lu Ming, you're confused because you're too concerned. This is a great opportunity for this girl, Dandan shouted. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat and he stopped. He also knew that he was confused because he was too concerned. Whoosh! The black bead flew into Xian Yanqing's glabella and disappeared. Lu Ming, I want to cultivate here for a while, Xian Yanqing said. Okay. Lu Ming nodded. Then, Xian Yanqing sat down cross-legged. A layer of demonic light shrouded Xian Yanqing like a cocoon formed by demonic aura. Dandan, could that be the sacred heart left behind by the saints? Lu Ming asked curiously. Not the sacred heart. Dandan shook his head. His small eyes glowed as he said, That's a core left behind by an existence more powerful than a saint. It's 100 times more precious than a saint's heart. That's why I said that this chick had obtained a great opportunity. Fortunately, the owner of this thing had died in battle a long time ago. The killing intent and murderous intent on it had long dissipated, and there wasn't much energy left. Otherwise, if we were all dead, this chick wouldn't have been able to obtain the inheritance. Stronger than a sage? Lu Ming was secretly shocked. At the moment, a ruler was an insurmountable mountain for him, and a saint was much more powerful than a ruler. Moreover, there were existences stronger than a saint. Lu Ming, let's continue forward. No one else can come in here. Your little lover will be fine here. I feel that there is a lucky chance waiting for us ahead. Dandan's eyes lit up as he looked ahead. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look. Lu Ming nodded. Then, the man and the tortoise continued forward. There were still ruins in front of them, but they could still see the outline. It should also be a palace, but it had been smashed and fallen here. It had long been ruined. That's... Suddenly, Lu Ming saw a behemoth lying in front of them. It was the headless true dragon knight. The black headless true dragon was lying on the ground, and the headless knight was sitting quietly on the true dragon, holding a dragon spear, motionless. Next to the headless true dragon knight, there was an area where various weapons were stuck upside down. However, they seemed to have been corroded and were in tatters. He could even see various kinds of armor, which were also rotten like those weapons. Taking a closer look, there were skeletons under those weapons and armor. Could it be that these were the burial places of the powerhouses who died in battle? Was the headless true dragon knight guarding this place? Lu Ming secretly guessed. That's 10,000 spirit crystals? I'm rich, I'm rich. Dandan's eyes suddenly lit up. She sprinted forward and rushed into the area filled with bones. Then, she dug out a multicolored crystal the size of a human head from the center of the area. It hugged the crystal and began to chew on it. Crunch, 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 it ate with relish. During the process, the headless true dragon knight did not move and did not stop it. Lu Ming smiled and strode forward. When he walked into the place of skeletons, his face changed drastically. Kill, kill, kill. Countless roars that were filled with murderous intent suddenly exploded in Lu Ming's mind. Those were extremely powerful killing intent, the killing intent of those powerhouses who were unwilling to die. They were too powerful. If it were anyone else, they would have been drowned by the endless killing intent in an instant, and become an idiot. However, Lu Ming was different. In his third bloodline, the murderous intent and murderous intent were many times stronger than the murderous intent here. Lu Ming was often under the influence of such murderous intent, and he had long learned how to resist it, and maintain a clear mind amidst the endless murderous intent. What a strong killing intent, but it's useless against me. But Dandan is too unreliable. He didn't even warn me. If it were someone else, it would be dangerous. Lu Ming thought. Dandan was still gnawing on the crystal, squinting and enjoying it very much. Kill! 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 Those killing intents were full of strong unwillingness and unyielding fighting intent, as if they were going to kill all enemies in the world. Huh! What's this? Lu Ming's expression changed, and he closed his eyes. In the next moment, the surrounding environment seemed to change. Lu Ming came to a vast land, where countless light pillars shot up into the sky. Those light pillars were all auras, the auras of various essences of heaven and earth. No, in essence, they were countless times stronger than the essences of heaven and earth. Are they left by those powerhouses? Are they related to the essences, or are they more powerful than the essences? Lu Ming's heart jumped, and then he was overjoyed. Because Lu Ming felt that in those light pillars, there were auras similar to the essences of fire and thunder. Lu Ming could find all 5 essences that he had comprehended. If I can comprehend them here, the essences of heaven and earth will definitely improve rapidly. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. For him, this was a great opportunity. Immediately, Lu Ming sat down cross-legged and started to comprehend quietly. Dandan quickly finished eating the 10,000 spirit crystal, and then he lay there motionlessly, glowing all over. Fire essence! The first thing Lu Ming comprehended was the concept of fire. Now, his fire essence and thunder essence had reached the peak of greater success of level 4, and he was only one step away from level 4 perfection. At this time, Lu Ming's fire essence was rapidly improving again. In this way, time passed day by day. After 7 days, Lu Ming made a breakthrough in his fire essence, making it the first to reach level 4 perfection. Level 4 perfection of concept was already the highest level. The next step would be domain. Boom! A layer of flame jumped on Lu Ming's body, and then it burned through the space. Level 4 perfection, so powerful! Chapter 12:20. Perfected level 4 meant that one's comprehension of the concept had reached the peak. Once one's control of the heaven and earth concept reached the perfected realm, the power of the concept would increase greatly. In 7 days, I was able to raise my fire concept from greater success level 4 to perfected level 4. This place is a great opportunity for me, Lu Ming thought to himself. Although there was only one step between greater success level 4 and perfected level 4, the difference was like heaven and earth. Many geniuses would need at least half a year or even a few years to break through. Some people might even spend their entire lives without being able to break through. With Lu Ming's cultivation speed, he would need at least half a year to break through if there were no opportunities. But now, he had broken through in 7 days. Next, thunder concept. Lu Ming's eyes flashed as he began to comprehend thunder concept. Similarly, in 7 days, Lu Ming's thunder concept had broken through and reached perfected level 4. Whoosh! Lu Ming waved his hand and the sky was filled with lightning. Bolts of lightning surrounded Lu Ming's body. Suddenly, Lu Ming's expression changed slightly. Just as his thunder concept had broken through to perfected level 4, the thunder cauldron in his sea of consciousness that had been silent for a few years suddenly moved and vibrated slightly. At this moment, Lu Ming felt that he had made a connection with the thunder cauldron. Lu Ming had obtained this thunder cauldron from the 100 Gods slope. When he first saw it, the thunder cauldron was undergoing a heavenly tribulation, so Lu Ming had put it away. Lu Ming had used it a few times. Although it would absorb Lu Ming's life essence, it had helped Lu Ming overcome difficulties several times. Unfortunately, after being hit by Di in the Battle of 9 Dragons, it had flown back to Lu Ming's sea of consciousness and remained silent. No matter how Lu Ming tried to sense or call it, he could not get a connection. Now, when Lu Ming's thunder concept had broken through to perfected level 4, he had made a connection with the thunder cauldron again. Immediately, Lu Ming activated thunder concept and carefully sensed with the thunder cauldron. 1. The lightning cauldron vibrated even more intensely. In the end, it flew out from between Lu Ming's eyebrows and floated above Lu Ming's head. It emitted a supreme lightning might from above. This pressure is so strong! Lu Ming sensed the lightning cauldron and his eyes revealed shock. The pressure emitted by the thunder cauldron was even stronger than that of a ruler. Move! Lu Ming tried to control the lightning cauldron. To his surprise, he was able to control it. The lightning cauldron flew up and down according to Lu Ming's will. It was many times stronger than before. In the past, he would only be able to activate the lightning cauldron when he was fighting for his life. The lightning would absorb his true essence and his life essence. Only then would he be able to activate the lightning cauldron. How could he control it as he wished now? However, I still feel that this lightning cauldron is unfathomable. I don't know how much power I can unleash from it. However, even if I can unleash a little bit of its power, it will still be of great help to me. Let's find a chance to test it out. Lu Ming smiled and put the thunder cauldron back into his sea of consciousness. Then, Lu Ming continued to comprehend other concepts. Time passed day by day. Lu Ming's heaven and earth concept also improved very quickly. Chirp chirp. On this day, Lu Ming was cultivating when he suddenly heard a sound not far away from him. Lu Ming was shocked and hurriedly opened his eyes. There were actually other living beings here. If they wanted to harm them, the consequences would be unimaginable. When he opened his eyes, he saw a ball of white hair squirming not far away. No, upon closer inspection, it was actually a living being that looked very similar to a squirrel. Its entire body was chubby and round, and it was very fleshy. Moreover, its entire body was covered with white hair. The white hair was crystal clear without any impurities. Coupled with its chubby body, it was very cute. It was not big. It was only the size of 2 fists. At this moment, it was blinking its big black eyes and looking at Lu Ming curiously. It was making chirping sounds from its mouth. There's actually such a living being here? Lu Ming was secretly shocked. Wasn't this place filled with mortal enemies and no living beings? Lu Ming and the others had not encountered any living beings along the way except for the headless true dragon rider. Strictly speaking, the headless true dragon rider was not a living being. Could it be a spirit mouse? Strange, why would it appear here? Moreover, isn't it afraid of the endless killing intent here? Chirp chirp. The white spirit mouse looked at Lu Ming curiously while chirping. It wriggled its chubby body and wandered around Lu Ming. Lu Ming looked carefully and found that the white spirit mouse looked very ordinary. Lu Ming stood up and walked towards the white spirit mouse. The white spirit mouse was shocked and ran away quickly. After running for a while, it stopped and turned around to look at Lu Ming curiously. Little guy, what's your name? Lu Ming asked. When a demonic beast reached the king realm, it would be able to speak. Chirp chirp. However, the white spirit mouse only chirped and did not speak. You haven't reached the king realm? But if you haven't reached the king realm, how can you resist the endless killing intent here? Lu Ming's curiosity was aroused and he chased after the white spirit mouse. The white spirit mouse turned around and ran at an incredible speed. In a flash, it disappeared without a trace. This is the space essence? Lu Ming stood rooted to the ground, dumbstruck. A white spirit mouse could actually use the space essence. Moreover, it seemed to be more mysterious than the space essence that Lu Ming had seen Yang Patian and Di Xing use. What kind of spirit mouse was this? What kind of demonic beast was it? Lu Ming had never heard of it. Forget it. In the end, Lu Ming shook his head and continued to sit cross-legged to comprehend the space essence. But not long after, the chirping sound was heard again. Lu Ming opened his eyes and saw the white spirit mouse again. It was lying not far away and looking at Lu Ming. This guy, Lu Ming muttered. Suddenly, he moved and pounced on the white spirit rat. Chirp chirp. The white spirit mouse was startled and turned around to run. In a flash of white light, it was far away. Lu Ming did not even see how it left. Its use of space is too strong, isn't it? Lu Ming was really stunned. After a while, Lu Ming continued to sit cross-legged. But this time, Lu Ming just closed his eyes and did not cultivate. Instead, he spread out his soul consciousness and paid attention to the situation around him. As expected, not long after, with a flash of white light, the white spirit mouse appeared not far away from Lu Ming and looked at Lu Ming curiously. Let's see where you can run to this time. The corners of Lu Ming's lips curled into a faint smile. The vital essence in his body suddenly erupted, forming a vital essence light shield that enveloped a radius of 1,000 meters. Even the space was sealed by Lu Ming. At the same time, Lu Ming suddenly moved and pounced on the white spirit mouse like a ray of light. Chirp, chirp! The white spirit mouse made a sound, but there was no trace of panic in its big eyes. It spat out a bubble from its mouth. Yes, it was a bubble. The bubble expanded rapidly and enveloped Lu Ming. Chapter 12:21. As for the white spirit mouse, it ran away without a trace. When the white spirit mouse went far away, the bubble on his body burst with a poof. This is the time concept? This time, Lu Ming's heart was really in a perilous situation. His eyes were full of disbelief. The reason why the bubble slowed down Lu Ming's speed was not because of other reasons. That was because the flow of time in the bubble slowed down. Therefore, Lu Ming's speed slowed down. That was clearly the time concept. Among thousands of concepts, time and space were king. The time concept and space concept were the kings of thousands of concepts. But in fact, the time concept was stronger, more mysterious and rarer than space concept. That was the legendary concept. Almost no one could comprehend it. But now, a white spirit mouse actually mastered the time concept. The most shocking thing was that this white spirit mouse not only mastered the time concept, but also the space concept. To master time and space at the same time, this was unheard of. It was too shocking and too terrifying. Lu Ming was stunned there. It took him a long time to recover. This spirit mouse's origin is absolutely amazing. But it seems to have no malice towards me. It's just curious and as timid as a mouse. No, it's just a mouse, Lu Ming thought in his heart. After a while, Lu Ming continued to sit cross-legged. Sure enough, not long after, the white spirit mouse came again. Not far from Lu Ming, it blinked its big eyes and looked at Lu Ming curiously. This time, Lu Ming ignored it. He closed his eyes and pretended to cultivate. The white spirit mouse wandered around Lu Ming and looked at him. After half an hour, it ran away. Lu Ming smiled slightly and continued to comprehend the world concept. The next day, the white spirit mouse came again and still looked at Lu Ming. Lu Ming ignored it and continued to cultivate. This time, the white spirit mouse seemed to be a little bolder and got closer to Lu Ming. After half an hour, it left again. But the next day, the white spirit mouse came again. Lu Ming couldn't be bothered and focused on cultivating. As for the white spirit mouse, it would come every day to carefully size up Lu Ming. Furthermore, it became bolder and bolder, slowly approaching Lu Ming. 7 days later, it simply climbed onto Lu Ming's shoulder. In this way, after a few more days, he decided not to leave. He curled up at Lu Ming's feet. His chubby body curled up and he actually fell asleep. There was even a bubble on his nose. As the white spirit mouse breathed, the bubble would grow bigger and smaller. It was very cute. Lu Ming opened his eyes and couldn't help but reach out to touch it. The white spirit mouse suddenly woke up and subconsciously wanted to escape. However, it immediately realized that Lu Ming was just gently stroking it. Then, it looked comfortable and continued to lie down. Chirp, chirp. After a while, the white spirit mouse actually fell asleep again, and it was even making chirping sounds. Lu Ming smiled faintly. What a cute little guy. In the following days, Lu Ming cultivated every day. The white spirit mouse seemed to be dependent on him, and stayed by Lu Ming's side all day long. This is a space-time spirit mouse? Suddenly, a shocked voice sounded. Lu Ming opened his eyes and saw Dandan looking at the white spirit mouse in shock. Space-time spirit mouse? Dandan, you know it? Lu Ming asked. Dandan carefully sized up the white spirit mouse. There was a complicated look in his eyes. It seemed to be nostalgic and sad at the same time. Of course I know it. Space-time spirit mouse is one of the top 10 battle beasts. How can I not know it? Dandan said leisurely. One of the top 10 battle beasts? Lu Ming was shocked. Space-time spirit mouse can control space-time. Don't mention how terrifying it is. A space-time spirit mouse in its heyday is a headache even for me in my heyday. Kid, you're really lucky. It seems that this space-time spirit mouse is dependent on you, Dandin said. His tone was full of envy. Isn't it said that the top 10 battle beasts are unique in the world? Could it be that this one is the one from ancient times? Lu Ming asked curiously. He had already determined that this was the real space-time spirit mouse. Lu Ming had seen it use space-time essence with his own eyes. It shouldn't be. The space-time spirit mouse from back then had already died in battle. If I'm not mistaken, this one should be the descendant of the space-time spirit mouse from back then. I don't know what kind of method it used to seal it until now, but this space-time spirit mouse shouldn't have been born for too long. I know. This is the Space-Time Spirit Palace. The Space-Time Spirit Palace was an important place in the Hunyuan sect. It was the residence of the Space-Time Spirit Mouse. The Archean Dragonesque Elephant and the Space-Time Spirit Mouse were good friends, so there was a statue of the Archean Dragonesque Elephant. Unfortunately, this place has been destroyed. Dandin kept muttering and revealed many secrets. Dandin, you seem to have recovered a lot, Lu Ming said. Haha, of course. I've refined the Thousand Spirit Crystal. The Thousand Spirit Crystal is the condensation of the essence of countless experts. Now that my cultivation has improved greatly, I can protect you in the future, Dandin said proudly. Oh? Can you deal with the Emperor? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Ahem, I haven't fully digested the Thousand Spirit Crystal. I can't deal with the Emperor for the time being, Dandin said awkwardly. You can't deal with the Emperor. What's there to be proud of? Lu Ming despised. Kid, you. Dandin glared at Lu Ming. If you can't deal with the Emperor, what about the Supreme Being? Lu Ming asked. Ahem, I should be able to barely deal with a Supreme Being, right? Dandin said with some lack of confidence. Lu Ming curled his lips. This guy was most likely unreliable and didn't have any confidence in his words. Kid, what's with your expression? I haven't digested the Thousand Spirit Crystal yet. After I've digested it, I can kill a Supreme Being with a slap, Dandin shouted. Is that so? Lu Ming didn't seem to believe him, which made Dandin very depressed. He stayed at the side alone and continued to refine the Thousand Spirit Crystal. Shao Qing and Long Chen haven't finished cultivating yet. I'll continue to comprehend the concept. Lu Ming pondered and then continued to comprehend the concept of heaven and earth. Time passed day by day. In the blink of an eye, there were only 3 days left before they set off for the ancient city of gods. At this time, Lu Ming ended his cultivation. They had to think of a way to get out. A few days ago, Xian Yanqing and Long Chen had finished their cultivation and came here. At first, Long Chen and Xian Yanqing also wanted to step into the land of bones, but they retreated in shock. It was difficult for them to resist the killing intent, so they could only give up. Whoosh! Lu Ming stood up and took a step out of the land of bones. During this period of time, each of them had gained a lot. Long Chen seemed to have comprehended a terrifying battle skill while cultivating under the primordial dragonesque elephant. Moreover, his cultivation had broken through from the peak of the 5th level to the 6th level of the spirit god realm. Moreover, he had reached the peak of the 6th level of the spirit god realm. Xian Yanqing's cultivation had improved the most. She was originally at the peak of the 4th level of the spirit god realm, but now, she had stepped into the 6th level of the spirit god realm. Yes, the 6th level of the spirit god realm, and she had already reached the middle stage of the 6th level. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.